It's March Madness, baby.
Madness.
We've awakened, back from the dead. Not dead, though. Working, building, grinding. Almost no sleep. And we have a lot to talk about. And we need to talk about brackets. So I just talked about bracket for the very first time. Again, I was on the Camp High stream earlier, and I had mentioned to them that, I watched Selection Sunday, basically just to see the teams come out so we could curate our list of teams to be included in the book and all the teams that we need to compile data for. And really beyond that night of hearing the teams come out, I have not really given the bracket or the regions or the matchups any second thought. So
that's what we're here to do tonight.
Have you looked at it more meaningfully beyond?
I've kind of had to, because we've been building the book. What book am I talking about, Brett?
Yeah, so we partnered with ShotQuality. Obviously, great guys there. Leaders, certainly, in quantitative, kind of analytics and betting models and things like that for not just college basketball, but NBA, so basketball kind of writ large. But, certainly, I would say one of the highest quality, kind of quantitatively driven kind of platforms out there to help fuel, intelligence for sports bettors to make sharper decisions. And so it was really exciting to potentially partner with them, because that's exactly, the type of brand we want to be associated with. And they've kind of, done a lot of things that rhyme with the things that we are already doing at Sportfolio Kings. Our shot quality, we have drive quality, our drive quality model. That actually stuck out to them, and I think.
Oh, got a little delay. Sorry, Brett,
and we've done that. Yeah, I'm in Vegas, and I'm at the Westgate, and their Wi-Fi sucks. They put me on the 28th floor here. You think the fuck?
What the hell is that? Did you just get an explosion?
I have no idea what that was.
I thought you blew up for a second. I
don't know what that was. But I'm on the 28th floor of the Westgate, and you would think that maybe that's oh, that's a suite. Oh, that's a nice floor. Oh, you're at the very top. Oh, you have a great view. I do have a great view. But it's actually an abandoned floor.
Oh.
It's because I told them, I'm all right, I need a desk. I need space to work. That's what's the highest priority to me. And I'm here at the Westgate because obviously they have a great sports book. Circa's totally booked out for 2 months. And, I didn't want to book until the very last minute. So they have a great sports book. Their rooms otherwise suck. Everything else pretty much sucks. I mean, this place is stuck in the 80s. And anyway, I'm in this huge ass hotel room right now. Couches, huge TV, a bar. But it's no one's been here since the early 90s. It's so again, I feel like I'm on an abandoned floor. Anyway, their Wi-Fi sucks. All of which to say their Wi-Fi sucks. I'm going to be cutting out. You're going to hear me say something. I'm going to just jump in, Zach. Okay. Judah's also going to be jumping on later too. So as I continue to kind of fall out, hopefully, you and Judah can keep the audience entertained.
For sure. Well, why don't we? Are you able to share your screen at all, Brett, and share any potential?
Yeah. So we can talk a little bit about again, March Madness Playbook that we collaborated with ShotQuality about, that I was just talking about, then I got distracted because fireworks are going off in my background. My Wi-Fi's cutting out. But we put together this. How many pages is it? Is it over 300?
We have it's 276 now, 280 ish.
So 270 plus pages of Sportfolio style the look and feel that you've become accustomed to. That we do a lot for the NFL. I think pretty much anyone who follows us, it's mostly because they think we do good visualizations, good synthesizing of data, even if we are super inconsistent. And we're not out here in front of our audience as much as we want to be. We're really trying to build. That's the most important thing. This NFL season is more important than ever, and we're going to try and be more present. But in any case, I'm going in a bunch of different directions, but this March Madness Playbook, collaboration with ShotQuality, 280 plus pages of content, 4 pages per team. This is the first thing that we're really selling. So it would be cool if anyone who likes us buy it, because we've never sold anything to you before. So
And I did some math. My strong suit, according to some of our favorite influencers in
you're
the
a
Discord.
context capper. Math is not your strong suit.
I'm gonna change my name to Math Capper. Bad Math Capper. No, if you really think about it, this book is $7, not even a round of March Madness content. It's 56 cents per team. It's a few cents or so per page. I mean, it's really not asking for much if you think about it. Just saying.
Please, poor.
I need $50 to put on an SGP. God damn it, go Colorado.
Yeah, but if we ever want to expand our platform, expand our brand, amplify the types of things that we're doing, we are going to need some support at some point in time. And to continue to sustain some of the things that we're doing. We've been grinding so much work the last couple days. I literally have slept, I think, 6 hours in 4 days total.
Yeah. I feel you. I'm with you.
Thanks for joining. Intense. Thanks, Andrew. Good to see you back.
Andrew, talk to us. Tell us what we need to know about March Madness. We've just been building the data in the book. Now we're going to actually dig into it and talk about it. Mm-hmm. So if you got any gems,
he was on some of our live betting streams this year. Yeah. Are we going to do some live betting for college basketball too?
I've already been live betting. So yeah.
But I'm saying
live streaming,
literally out front, not just
be on here,
scenes, right? Cowering in the shadows.
We should be doing it every night. Night games.
Well, I did make my first live bet, and that was Boise State plus 200.
I made mine over 124.5.
What's it right now?
I don't know. It's halftime.
Plus 175. Oh, it's halftime. Oh, I thought you said it was halftime already a while ago.
It was. It's probably it's probably wrapping up.
Oh yeah, dude. I like that over 123.5 as well. Then.
Yeah.
Andrew likes Colorado -3. This is the other preface, as we're gonna preview some of the pages that we put together for our March Madness book, again in collaboration with ShotQuality. You can see it down there at the bottom. Again, please follow that link, buy some. Again, poor.
No comment. I'm all in on Bitcoin, so I'm not poor. Well, this week I would be, but never mind.
Choose rich. Oh, Andrew misses La Porta Potty, he says.
He's going to
Zach, you're going to have to try to find somebody to make some sort of poop joke.
Oh, I've seen some names going through the deck. So if we go through it tonight, I'll find some. I promise. There's some doozies. I think one guy's name was like Bozo or something. I don't know. It's pretty entertaining though.
Okay, here. This is. Do you see me sliding through? This is just a tease. We'll go through some of so let's
Can you share your screen?
Start with. Yeah, can you see?
No.
No? Oh.
Not on. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there it is. Go to type in a control F Boise and let's go through it while we're talking about the game that's happening. I would say.
So yeah, so here's a good example of not Boise, of what we're looking at. So I'm gonna try to zoom out a little bit, but still see detail. So we got 4 pages per team, and it's like packed with information. And we also want to balance not overwhelming you with like a bunch of numbers, a bunch of stats, a bunch of analytics, but you don't know what to make of it. So we tried to kind of balance that out with providing rich analytics, also, embedded with a lot of that ShotQuality proprietary data, but also with qualitative text and stats, and kind of bringing together what the analytics actually mean. What are the takeaways? How should you position? How should you evaluate this team? How should you think about live betting, with a specific team and specific matchups? So I think this first box, this Team Factor DNA box, is a first really good example of this. And basically what this does is, this is not written by us. This is programmatic.
Which is impressive.
I mean, I wrote the text, but we didn't manually write this for every team.
Clearly, yeah.
And so purely programmatic in the sense of taking a bunch of different analytics, a bunch of different stats, ShotQuality data, and bringing it together to try to say, like, all right, what do you take of these types of stats, and what's the kind of qualitative takeaway? And we kind of synthesize and narrow that down into kind of top 6 or 7 or 8, depending on the team and what's most relevant, bullet points into kind of the key takeaways that define the DNA of that team. So if you don't want to look through all the data, all the analytics, and you just want to get like a very quick gist of who a team is, that's the Team Factor DNA. Again, all supported by data. This is not our sort of subjective, oh yeah, I think, Boise State, their offense is pretty passive. They're slower than most. They're shorter than most. They're gonna be fucked if they get in foul trouble. They're less prone to score in bunches. That's not just my opinion. In fact, I didn't even know that. I really don't know jack shit about Boise State. I still don't. The only way I know is by looking at this. And again, this is being fueled by a bunch of different stats that then come together to then spit out some sort of qualitative statement, and then it gets packaged in here. So I built it, so I know exactly how it works. But since you use it, Zach, anything else you want to talk about from like a user's perspective?
That I like, I like that. For context's sake, I always look for the simplest, easiest way to describe it. It's kind of like what do they say? Like in philosophy and in writing and storytelling, it's kind of like how do you pack as much information in something as simply as possible that anybody could understand it? And that's why I really like this Team Factor DNA. Is can an idiot understand it? Then you're actually being very smart with how you package it. And so that's why it's super, I think, cool to use.
Also, welcome Judah. Like
me,
again, hasn't been following college basketball or anything like that. Isn't really deep into any sort of fundamental analysis or kind of understanding the perception and biases of these teams. I think I watched 6 college basketball games this year, and I don't even think there were 6 full games. So Judah's on the same page as me and being kind of purely driven by just looking at the data, looking at the stats, looking at the analytics, and trying to drive any sort of potential live betting strategy around that. And also how we're going to eventually kind of start to fill out some of our brackets and whatnot. But I know you've just, kind of what's your perception of the book so far as well, Judah?
Yeah, there's a ton of very useful information, which I think is the most difficult point to come across. Is like there is so much info, but the actual quality of the data and how well that's synthesized and presented, I think it is very easy for someone like me who has not really been following for most of the year to kind of get a good sense of these teams. And there's like a pretty like very good job, I'd say, of like identifying team tendencies, which is something that I obviously am focused on across all sports. And I think it's especially true with live betting. And like Brett, I know you posted stuff on Twitter today, even just kind of really highlighting that. And I think those are kind of unique tools that are especially valuable for the types of trading that we frequently like to do live, and playing with the volatility that I'm very excited to utilize in real time.
You know, it was interesting too, actually, the fact that I haven't been as involved, again, watching the games and all that stuff this season for a variety of reasons, is the way we wanted to design this book and organize information was from the perspective of like, I don't know much about this team, so what do I need to know in order to help me make better decisions, specifically when live betting, but also just how do I want to frame a reference around this team? What are actionable data points that are actually helpful and aren't just like broadly generic statements that aren't going to do anything for you? So try to lean as much into not just throwing a bunch of numbers in here, and also trying to pack in information that you're not going to find elsewhere. There's so many people out there that do like these March Madness guides and March Madness books and stuff like that. Our edge here is, again, we're primarily focused indeed on markets, market analysis, live betting, volatility, and understanding how teams perform specifically in game, again, to help tailor better kind of live trading opportunities, exploiting mispriced risks, pricing dislocations. How are you going to know any of that if you're like just looking at a team's points per game or some players' assists per game? You know, and again, we have some of that sprinkled in here, you know, just to kind of meet table stakes. But for the most part, we want to lean into truly unique charts, data, and just kind of broader analytics that you're not going to find elsewhere. So I think like a really good example of that is, one, we have our height analysis. We built a custom signal around this called height leverage. Height leverage is trying to inform you around, you know, you can go out there anywhere and figure out how tall players are or how tall a team is. Ken Pom has some stat out there about, you know, effective height. Essentially just prioritizes, you know, how tall is your center and the power forwards, gives that, you know, overweights those heights, and therefore that's that. It's just facts. All right. Well, so the height leverage custom signal is essentially, all right, you're tall, but are you good at the things that a tall person should be good at? Are you just fucking tall? You know, because if you're just fucking tall and you're not athletic and you can't rebound and you're not great at blocking and you're not good at defense, well, then you're just tall. And any sort of stat that tells you you're tall is going to like mislead you in the wrong direction when it comes to potentially leading into some sort of height-based analysis to drive a trade or to drive a bet. Well, you're going to get your face ripped off because you don't know what you're doing. So we want to actually, again, take stats, take data, synthesize it into actual arguments, again, actionable information to make you a better bettor. And so the height leverage looks at the types of things that you should be good at if you're tall. So we look at how tall you are, but then how good are you at offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, blocks, broader defense, the inability for your shots to be blocked. These types of things. Used a machine learning model to, again, to optimize like what those weights should be that helps drive like, you know, kind of stronger predictive future performance based on past results. And this goes back to about 2010 was the data set that we had. And then basically spits out what we call height leverage. So yeah, you have height, but how do you leverage that height? And so this is just one of our custom signals. I know I've already been talking a lot. So Zach, do you want to talk about something in the book?
One of my already favorite players of the tournaments on Boise State's team, his name's Tyson Degenhart. So we got a true degen on Boise State, which I always can appreciate. But yeah, other than giving people nicknames, Something I find interesting is if you go to the enhanced schedule X-ray on the third page for each team, something I don't think I ever see anywhere is something I always look for live betting is like how volatile is the intra-game, kind of events within a team. And like, so, max lead, max deficit, dry spells, like that kind of information to me is like super valuable, especially with any kind of live betting, is just to see like a range of outcomes in game for how a team tends to like perform. Like Boise State had a stretch about five games in a row, 5 games in a row towards the end of the season. They had max leads of like 17 to 32 points against teams in their own conference, which to me is kind of impressive. So, just those kind of takeaways, I just don't see in other books or other kind of granular data. Yeah, also, line move, line close, super interesting to kind of see all contextualized in one place. The ATS margin as well. So a lot of good information that I'm like, oh yeah, I need that. Like I need to know that that's what that is compared to that thing. Okay, now I have a more informed kind of basis for what I want to bet. So I dig that a lot.
Yeah, this is something that anybody who's watched Judah and I's kind of streams, preseason streams, and things like that for the NFL, we use a version of this, and we're going to continue to build it out and hopefully get it platformized in the sense of actually letting people engage with this type of content as well, not just in kind of a static form. That's our goal. Again, that's why we've been mostly offline, is trying to put these things together, working, building, kind of grinding, getting types of stuff done. But some of the things we have on here, to your point, Zach, I mean, there's stats on here. Again, these are the types of data points I want to know when I'm trying to evaluate a team's past historical performance. I don't want to just look at the final score. Final score could be it's super misleading. It's one of the things why we built the drive quality model for the NFL, was to try to understand how a team actually performed, not just the realized performance. And so some of the stats we have on here also help kind of bring that to life as well. So as Zach mentioned, we have the max leads and max deficits, kind of gives you a sense of just that team's broader volatility. And we have some other visualizations that also kind of suss that out. We'll show later in the book. We have our TWAM and TWAP stats, something we talk about a lot in the NFL. TWAM, time-weighted average margin. So we look at not just what was their average lead or average deficit, but we look at what was their lead or deficit multiplied by the time they held that lead or deficit. This is a stat that I don't see anywhere. I don't see it anywhere. This is a really common way of evaluating prices in traditional finance, but it's not brought over into evaluating intraday or intra-game team performance. Very valuable to really understand how a team performed in game, not just by the final deficit, but by looking at the TWAM, again, time-weighted average margin, TWAP, another kind of similar concept, time-weighted average win probability. Again, looking at the win probability multiplied by the time they held that specific win probability, again, gives you a much more accurate sense of how competitive a team was in game. As Zach mentioned, also we have line move. How much did the line move from the open to the close? See if there's any signal there. We have dry spells. Dry spells is defined as 3+ minutes of not scoring any points. So how many dry spells did they have in a particular game? Max lead, max deficit. We also have the shot quality adjusted offense and adjusted defense. So it looks at how many points, according to the shot quality model, did that team score or allow relative to their final score. So again, gives you another sense of how they performed, both from an offense and a defensive perspective. So yeah, just a lot of stats in like context packed into one visualization. Just this one chart is like super helpful to kind of give you a sense of, again, how has this team performed in the past.
I like it. So should we talk about the current game that's going on at all within the context?
Yeah, let's do this. So it's halftime still?
No, the game is back on. It's 35-31. 15 minutes left in the second half. We have an official TV timeout according to the box score.
All right, I got that Boise State plus 200 earlier. You took the 123. It's at 122.5. So if we were to use this, so we want to look at, so this is another set of charts that we have. I'll try to make it a little bit bigger here. And this gives you a look at the Vegas spread relative to the actual win-loss margin chart on the left. We have both the spread and total. So the spreads analysis is at the top. So top left chart, orange line is how what the team won or lost by, again, over the course of the season. It's a time series. And the white line is the Vegas spread. So if they line up perfectly, essentially that means like the Vegas, kind of the closing line was very close to what the team actually won or lost by. The more separation or the more deviation means that the market, was a lot, there was a bigger separation between expected performance and realized performance. You ideally want some big separations here. That would imply a team has, a lot of volatility, and the market hasn't been really strong at pricing them properly, which means more opportunity for bettors. If the market's pricing a team basically perfectly, there's not a lot of opportunity to make any bets. Although there could be, the one takeaway I would say is if a team hugs the closing line pretty closely, which it looks like Boise does here. In fact, there's really only that time period between December and January where there was a big fluctuation. Otherwise, this maps pretty closely. Mm-hmm. My signal for this would be, for live betting purposes, is, hey, the Boise State margin kind of ends up hugging what the closing line was in a super majority of times, or is pretty close there. So if you get some deep price dislocation from that closing line in game, Boise's probably a pretty decent bet. And in fact, I think even this game lines up with this analysis, because what you said, Zach, the closing line was 3, and pretty much all we've seen is 3s and 4s, right?
Well, it just got to 7.5. Now it's down to 5. So yeah, and we posted on Twitter today. That was the range of outcomes. Looking for live was Boise plus 7.5. So if you're able to get it and you're watching our Twitter, it was there. We'll see if it lands. But
okay, nice, good call. Yeah, so exactly. So basically, what this chart on the left would say is, again, you get some separation there. I would say like 5 points. And again, we could probably look deeper into the data to try to come up with an optimal number, and that's something we can kind of look forward to maybe doing in the future, specifically for teams. Like, what are certain kind of price dislocations you're looking for any specific team from the closing line that is a buy or sell signal for you? But just eyeballing this, I want to say Boise State, you get, plus minus 5 points or more is that's when you start getting interested. So to your point, if it would close at 3, once you got to that 7.5, ideally I would say probably, again, just like eyeballing it, 8 is when, all right, now I'm interested. Like now I want to start potentially, leaning into this. So like a Boise State plus 8, plus 8.5, based on that chart, seems like a buy.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
And then, as I mentioned before, the bottom charts are the exact same sort of analysis, just for totals. And you can see there's a lot more volatility in totals, which I think this is also kind of just like a broader kind of betting maxim, is if you're going to lean into alt spreads and certainly buying points. Obviously, buying points is just like off the table, like anathema to any like sharp bettor. But this is why the bottom chart on the left like demonstrates why you don't buy points. For the most part, like there's a lot more volatility in closing totals and then realized totals. So you buying a point, like buying 2 points, you're getting your face ripped off. It's completely negative EV. If anything, you should be selling the fuck out of points. That's why leaning into like alt spreads, at reduced or at premiums in order to capture a premium. So, leaning into something that is, if you're interested in an over, push it out, a touchdown, 7 points, get plus 200, plus 250, because the volatility says that that's going to be there. That's less than one standard deviation away is 7 points. So in fact, we can see the chart on the right actually gives us a sense of, in fact, what one standard deviation for Boise is. It's 19 points.
Oof.
So that means from the closing total, Boise State's closing, from the closing Vegas total to the realized total, is plus minus 19 points. That's going to happen, 66% of the time. It's going to be within 20 points of wiggle room. So that also means, like, from a live betting perspective, again, so this means bet alt spreads, but live betting, that
123.
Well, that means you need a big move from the total.
Yep.
So if you get 10 points of value, so say the total, what do we know what the total closed here?
144.
140. Okay, so there we go. So that's 20 points.
Yep.
So now you're interested.
And that's exactly what happened.
If you close 144, it goes down to 134, and you're like, 10 points of value. Let's do it. You can't go just off that signal, because that chart is telling you you're only halfway home. Like, you're well within the wiggle room of, like, 10 points is nothing. You need to get 20 points to even sniff value for Boise State. Again, using just that as a standalone signal. Of course, there could be other factors that you're using to evaluate to help drive your in-game live betting strategy. You shouldn't use just one signal. But if we are using just one signal, and we're using just Boise State's kind of realized total to expected total, again, you don't sniff a buy until at least 20 points.
Yeah, it's a good, for me, it's a good, and we worked on this in the past. It's good as like a threshold, right? It's kind of like just a, what do you call it? Like a marker, right? Is that, that's the range I'm looking for. Doesn't mean I'm going to wait until it gets the 20 points. I may have, like you said, other signals that I'm keying on, how effective they're shooting from the outside and other types of things. But that's kind of like you said, it's kind of like the marker of, okay, if I get to this, like now my ears are definitely going to perk up to see if there's a play to the over.
Yeah. And exactly, again, so now we are starting to quantify these things. I was qualitatively saying, oh, there's more volatility in totals, less so in the spreads. Now we can go over here and actually we can quantify it, because the one standard deviation, the mean volatility for Boise State when it comes to spreads is 9 points. So remember, I was eyeballing it and I was saying, like, somewhere around that, like 5, 6, whatever. So a good clean one is 9 points. But that's far tighter than the 19 points for totals. So much less volatility in the spreads, which also means, again, for this team, you get somewhere in that range of 9 points of deviation from the closing number. That's a strong buy signal.
And it also kind of, go ahead, Judy. Yeah,
I was going to say that 9 and 18, that's the same number, right? It's just a reflection of a spread works in two sides, right? You're either winning or losing by 9, which is the total points of 18, 19. It's really the same thing. I don't think it's a big difference between the nature of the spread as opposed to the total. It's just like, by definition, it's going to work two-sided because the total encompasses two teams.
Yeah.
What's most interesting to me is you can make the argument that the volatility there comes from a vast discrepancy in team talent, right? But this chart, I think, does a good job is showing that there's still a ton of volatility even within teams that are like top 50-ish, which is kind of like where we find ourselves now, or at least top 100. And the argument would be, I think, that if you just looked in the aggregate, 9 points, a lot of that just comes from, when you play the 250th best team or whatever that might be. And there's just a lot more uncertainty because you're not going to have as much information on teams that are on the tails of bat. But that doesn't really seem to be the case. It seems that there's plenty of volatility, especially in the totals, for teams in the range of a team like Colorado.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we should look at Colorado as well. Another piece of data that we have here too is scoring drought. So as I mentioned, we have the dry spells data in the enhanced schedule X-ray. We also call it out here, essentially giving you a sense of a team's proclivity to not score any points in different time buckets. So you got those 1 to 3 minutes range, 3 to 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, and beyond. And then kind of what their average scoring drought and then their longest scoring drought of the season is. And then below that, we also have, again, these are some of the charts I really like for, again, in-game betting, giving you a sense of how a team performs in-game. These are candlesticks charts. If you're a stock trader or do any sort of stock trading, you're certainly familiar with how these work. For those that aren't, this packs a lot of information in just one bar. And that's the benefit of candlesticks, and certainly for, again, traditional stock trading and things like that. But for the purposes of in-game live betting, what this essentially shows is the opponent logo gives you a sense of what the expectation for that team was to win or lose. So, for instance, this Boise State was going to play, looks like the expectation was that Boise State was going to win by 2 points or so. And then the candlestick gives us a sense of what the volatility in game looked like. So it looks like Boise State took a pretty considerable lead at some point in time, ended up losing the game since the bar is red. This is where the game closed, and a bunch of different information as well across this, with the shot quality ball as well, giving you a sense of where shot quality felt like the team ultimately played from a fundamental perspective, outside the actual score. So a lot of information here, and again, gives you a sense of how volatile, a team can be within any kind of particular game. And then on the left or on the right here, we also have this data from ShotQuality relative to a team's actual kind of point differential. So we're looking at, a point differential for this team over the course of the season. And then we're looking at ShotQuality's adjusted point differential over the course of the season. So, ShotQuality has its adjusted final scores relative to the actual final score. So the top chart gives you a sense of what everyone knows. Everyone knows what the point differential is. Everyone knows what those actual final scores are. And you're looking at those margins, adding them up over the course of the season. And then the bottom chart is looking at the ShotQuality adjusted scores, and then looking at what is the deviation between those adjusted scores, compiling those over the course of the season, and can give you a sense of how a team has performed based on their, what everyone knows, actual point differential versus the signal, which is kind of ShotQuality's adjusted scores. Again, can give you just a general sense of how a team has performed or underperformed kind of ShotQuality's expectations. So again, a lot of information there. I think I'm going hoarse. I'm talking so much.
I thought you said I'm a whore, but yes, you're probably going.
I'm whoring this book right now.
That's true.
I'm definitely slutting myself out. Andrew, can you explain how 11 seed is a 2.5 point favorite over a 6 seed? Again, I'm so out of touch. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Are you talking about New Mexico? I think that's like one of the, and we're gonna go through the brackets too, so we'll start to get this. Oh, New Mexico, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we can do that now.
I know a little bit. But I would just say, I don't know. Do you want to say anything, Zach?
No, I think
No shit,
by the book. I mean, why not? It's.
No, I would say first of all,
I assume any level of confidence from this selection committee, and that like there's any matchup to the seeding here.
Yeah, no, it's
also there's always going to be
bullshit.
like matchup specific strengths and weaknesses. There's going to be a team that maybe, again, we've seen this in plenty of tournaments in the past where there's a clearly better team matched up with a team that is, ranked, 150th overall or whatever, but match up almost perfectly with that team. Like they have the exact same strengths, exact same weaknesses. And so therefore, like, it's going to be like a potentially much tighter matchup than if you just looked blindly like at, oh, this is the third best overall team versus the 103rd best overall team, obviously the number 3 team is going to crush them. When in fact, again, there's always those matchup specific tendencies that can ameliorate a lot of that kind of broader kind of takeaways. But why is New Mexico specifically a 2.5 point favorite over Clemson?
Clemson sucks.
Let's do some digging and try to figure out why.
Yeah, just quick feeling on that. Building the book. Like Brett said, we haven't really watched fundamentally a ton of basketball, but building the book, getting some insights. I think Clemson has just completely tanked down the last stretch of the season. All of their big victories came, I think, in the first 10, 15 weeks, not weeks, games. So I think it's just a tale of team has completely just lost touch. I could be wrong, but we can check out the chart.
Yeah. So you can look at their ranking history. So that's one good example. Yeah. So they peaked basically at the beginning of the year. So red hot to start the year, opened the season ranked 38th, peaked at 12 right around the new year. And then has been a huge sell-off since then. You got a little bit of a dead cat bounce, and then, right back down to 35. And again, Judah, this is something, again, we've seen a lot, again, in the NFL. Zach, we've seen it as well. Again, a team kind of coming full circle, a lot of intra-season volatility. And then by the end, kind of end up a little bit where preseason expectations were. Again, you're going to have a lot of noise, a lot of volatility, things happening in between. And then sometimes, you kind of come full circle right back to where you started. But a clear, sell-off from mid-season. When we look at kind of consensus rankings across a variety of models and analysts, so we look at Net, BPI, Ken Palm, Bart Torvik, Evan Maya, kind of broader, kind of generic resume evaluation. All of them, and of course, ShotQuality, which we use as our kind of core signal, all in the 20s to 30s range. So I feel like there's general consensus. There's an ELO model that is certainly much more bearish on Clemson. When we look at our team factor DNA, what is Clemson? So Clemson, according to ShotQuality, is lucky. So according to ShotQuality's records, Clemson's is about 7% worse.
Oh, we had a little dry breath.
Than 21. They're heavily reliant on starters. So they're bottom 50% in depth. They're an overly passive offense. They rank in the bottom 20th percentile of our custom offensive aggressive signal. They're old as fuck, but that's a good thing. Top 10th percentile in experience. Giant 50th percentile in tempo. So again, this is a cool, little box here. Again, just to give you a general sense of who a team is, without having to come to a conclusion yourself by having to look at all of this data, if you really don't want to.
And one thing I thought was interesting that I picked up on with Clemson is the coach. They lost their last 3 out of 4, and in their final game versus a very underwhelming Boston College team, the head coach summarized his team's performance and basically admitted what the problem was. And he said, Boston College played with a lot of confidence and swagger and very free and loose, something we didn't do. I thought when we got behind, that's probably not great for us. We haven't been behind a lot this year, and we probably panicked a little bit. So a little bit of a signal there that this team doesn't necessarily maybe know how to deal with adversity. Because like we said in the beginning of the year, they had some great wins. But down the stretch, it seems like the team's confidence has kind of been wavering and kind of reared its ugly head. So that's not a team you would typically want to back in March Madness, because when the underdogs, so to speak, get momentum, get a little bit of a lead, you can see good teams crumble at times. So I think that's why that line might be not in their favor.
I think that's actually a good call out, because then you have that qualitative statement from the coach saying, oh, we haven't been in large deficits, we don't know how to handle them, things like this. And actually we can quantify that again by looking at their max deficits across the season. And to his point, not many, they haven't had many double-digit deficits over the course of the season. they were down by 10, lost, down by 15, lost, down by 10, lost, down by 12, lost, down by 12, lost. So pretty much any time, they did suffer a double-digit deficit, very rarely did they mount a comeback, which, again, really helps quantify a little bit of what that coach was saying, and you can kind of verify it with our enhanced schedule X right here. Any questions from the audience or anything else? What's going on in Boise State?
It's 43-43. Your plus 200's looking
baby.
good.
Plus 200.
You gonna dip the other way, or are you gonna hold?
I'm gonna hold. Hold strong. What's the total at right now?
It's dipped.
115?
117. Man, it's
interesting. I mean, now we're talking about 30 points
in 7 minutes
left.
The only trouble is when it's actually close, when it's actually like a back and forth game, is there less fouling and the tempo slows? Yeah.
You're open to the possibility of potential overtime. Obviously, it's like a still up.
Yeah, that's like a 2-3% type thing.
But again, based on that, I'll do over 116.
Yeah, I mean, it's dropping.
It's still minus 125 on Bet Online. And again, I'm in Vegas, and I haven't loaded my books here yet, so I don't have access to anything else.
They say about Vegas, notoriously very difficult to do any sort of online betting.
Yeah, Boise State plus 1.5, over under 116. The 116 looks attractive.
Yeah,
I don't know if anyone sees that even any better prices out there.
Yeah.
But anywho, do we want to try to do a bracket?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think I'll leave that for you. It's always good to talk some ball, and this is really an awesome product.
Yeah, and I think that's again, a lot of what we did in this book too is gonna rhyme with what we want to do for the NFL this season.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That was the other point I was gonna make. Was like, I obviously always want to tie things back to the NFL. Trying to stick to college basketball.
I've literally been doing a dynasty fantasy football draft through working with Brett building this fucking book because I can't get enough football. So sorry, guys.
I mean, look,
I love madness, but
I've got my NFL cap on, but literally. The point that I kept on coming back to was just how much this, I think, rhymes with a lot of football.
Yeah.
Types of metrics and stuff that we're trying to do, and it's almost a good test case. So I do also encourage any feedback from anyone who's listening, following along, different ideas people have. Our DMs are always open, and we encourage and would love to hear from.
And that's kind of something I've learned and other stuff that I think we'll be working on to focus on too, which is what Judah's talking about. Is we want to build something that not just you guys use, that we use and we can benefit from with our own betting. And so if there's ever anything that you're like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool, or could we imagine a way to create a signal for this, or anything that's like, I can't build it, maybe you guys can, that's the kind of stuff that you can bring to us. Like, we want to create the best kind of tooling we possibly can that is actually useful, right? It's not just to blow smoke and pretty mirrors. It's ultimately to be like, is this effective? So always open to constructive feedback and all that good stuff. So
yeah, because again, like the whole ethos behind Sportfolio Kings is, again, not to just be the same sort of kind of betting brands out there doing the exact same sort of analysis, leaning heavily into pregame, traditional handicaps, things like this. We're all about volatility, exotic markets, leaning into derivatives, thinking about broader kind of micro bets, script generation, obviously SGPs, leaning into high volatility markets with asymmetric risk and massive upside with more controlled downside risk. And again, not just doing it in a degenerate way, like, oh, parlays, like huge bet, small money to win a lot, and kind of just mindlessly fascinated with the, allure and sexiness of a big payout. We're trying to do it in a thoughtful, quantitatively driven, intellectual way, and really exploit some of these weak markets out there where a lot of people are interested in these markets, but there isn't necessarily robust tooling behind actually extracting value from these vulnerable, weak markets. And that's exactly the type of stuff that we're scoping out, we're working, we're mapping it out. Again, we are doing so much work behind the scenes, even if, again, we haven't been super active on our streams. We let our podcast drop off this season. That isn't just us like losing interest. It's the exact opposite. We're just doubling down. And certainly last football season, for instance, again, we just made an executive decision to we just need to keep focused on doing our due diligence, doing our modeling, doing our research, so we can commit to having an awesome 2024 season. And also to be able to carve out the time to do the content, to do the podcast, do alpha bets, which we know people love. They want to hear from us. And also sometimes the stuff that we produce is maybe a little bit complicated still. It's a little bit complex. Again, we're trying to skate to where the puck is. We think the average kind of median sports bettor is going to get far more sophisticated over the course of the season, over the course of the next few years. I know a lot of our followers certainly skew towards the more sophisticated bettor. But we're trying to continue to bring those bettors over and to being more sophisticated. And you need our help sometimes just to help understand, like, what the fuck, what is this graph? What is this chart? What does this mean? And again, that's what I was talking about in this March Madness book. We did try to do a better job of that type of thing, which is like, here's a cool chart. Here's some data analytics. Get deep and dirty in it if you want. But if you don't know what this means, we'll break it down for you. And so we do want to do more of that. And I know when we do our podcasts and streams, that's one way to help you better synthesize that information. So more to come in the NFL. But yeah, I know it's late where you are, Judah, already. So we'll let you bounce. But good to see you. And yeah, let's do some live betting over the course of March Madness at some point.
Love it. I'm looking forward. See you, fellas.
See you, buddy. All right. Well,
hey, you are too, Zach, but fuck you.
What? Well, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna grab a drink. I'll be right back. Brett, talk about March Madness. I'll be right back.
Everyone's always been hearing me talk.
I know. No, dig into the book. Let's talk about the fucking games tomorrow. I'll be right back.
Okay. Is there anybody in the chat want me to talk about and kind of show any specific team? Chime in the chat. And we'll talk about it. Again, 4+ pages on every single team. Again, we've been really... Again, obviously March Madness is extremely time sensitive. Selection Sunday night games, like the very first games, start Tuesday night. Then we have like the playing games tonight on Wednesday night. And then Thursday, you have very restricted time period to actually put this stuff together. So you might spot some errors here or there just because, again, it's a little bit of a rush job or trying to get things out to you. If you spot any errors, certainly let us know. Again, this is our third version. That's another cool thing about this book is this is the third version. We're going to have a fourth version. We're going to have a fifth version. We're going to keep updating it as the tournament continues to play out. We'll have more matchup specific stuff in here as well. And again, for I think it's like $30-$40, it's like pretty cheap relative to a lot of the other things out there, if you're kind of balling on a budget. Ed Roche wants Duke. God, I hate Duke. But I will satiate you for... Wow, there's a lot of Dukes in the tournament. Okay, Duke. Let's talk about Duke. So our injuries, a big reason for taking Keem. Ken's really banged up. I would say it's injuries are again, just speaking philosophically, just more generically when it comes to any types of sports betting, I would say if they're well-known, well-documented, broadly, publicly identifiable information about those injuries, it's probably more than priced in the market at that point. So like talking about Kansas, like the McCuller injury, like I think everyone's very well aware of it. It's priced in, again, if not even more so. When it comes to brackets, again, when you're just kind of picking a straight up winner, certainly take that into consideration. When it comes to making any sort of spread bet pregame, again, I would not take the injury into consideration. Again, unless you feel strongly that the market is mispricing the injury, either to one way or the other. Like, yeah, everyone knows McCuller's injury, and they've discounted Kansas 3.5 points, but it should be 8. Well, then take that into consideration. But if you're just doing it from the sense of, hey, he's injured, should I use this in my handicapping? I don't feel strongly one way or the other, but should I take it into consideration? The market's already taken it into consideration. When it comes to live betting, I think it can be important in the sense of if you have some sort of thesis around, all right, this is what I think this injury is going to mean to this matchup. Now I want to start watching the game. I want to start accumulating information. And if that thesis starts to come to play, then to bet that bet, even if you're getting it at a slightly worse price, you have more information. Information costs you something. But usually the information is worth even more than the cost of taking a 2-point discount or a 3-point discount if you think it's meaningfully going to impact the outcome. So that's how I think about injuries just generally. But again, Ed wanted to talk a little bit about Duke. Our favorite team, Zach.
I do. So did you tell him the story about?
I didn't.
In my early days of experimenting sports betting, we went to Vegas.
No, not that other kind of experimenting.
We were experimenting in Vegas together. No, when we went to Vegas, we were live betting. This was in the earlier days, really kind of trying to learn how to sports bet properly. And I remember that Duke was playing South Carolina, and this was the perfect teacher of don't try to catch a falling knife. So even though we're on the over on this game, and it could, if it hits OT, obviously it could go over. But obviously that's not what's going to happen. It's pretty far under the total. I allocated the unit I was willing to bet on this live over. It's probably all going to lose. No big deal. But if this was 10 years ago, I would have kept buying, let's say. And this is what we did with Duke. Duke was, down 2, down 4, down 6, down 12. And it's like, they'll come back. They're supposed to win the game. They'll come back. And so obviously they didn't. And it cost us like 40%, I think, of our bankroll at the time. Which again, when you're young and you're experimenting, I think you need those kind of lessons as a bettor to really know not to do those types of over leveraging type situations. So, basically to say, you're not going to be right about every game. Like even if the data is supporting something and it says, hey, this is going to happen, it's only really telling you that it's going to happen 55%, 60%, even maybe 70% of the time. It doesn't mean that today it's going to happen. So just always obviously take everything with a grain of salt. Like never over leverage unless you have some like real alpha angle, an injury, other people don't. like something that gives you like a real meaningful.
And you got to get a good price. That's the other element.
You got to get a good price.
Even if you leverage into a high conviction bet, you got to get a good price. And in our example for Duke, we did not get good prices. Did we get a discount? Sure. From like minus 450 down to like minus 300. Yeah.
But the problem is we kept stacking into it to try to leverage out of it. But just like anyone that like uses leverage in trading or stocks or crypto, that's how you get liquidated, right? Like that's how you got liquidated. So again, I think
that was the Jason Tatum like Duke team. We really liked that Duke team. But the other element of this also is just like, guys, remember, this is college basketball. Like these are kids. It's not like anything. Again, that's March Madness. Everyone knows this type of stuff. Like everyone knows it's March Madness. Crazy upsets happen. It's college basketball. But then when you're actually making your picks, you like discount all that information, and it's like, this team can't lose. This team can't win. You know, like, crazy stuff's not going to happen in this game.
Well, what's helped us, I think, in the past is to not look at what should happen. Look at how this game could go that shouldn't go that way first. Like almost like look at it from the opposite way as how your brain wants to look at things. So like, UConn, there's no way they could lose to a 16 seed. Like, yeah, technically, but who is the 16 seed? And like, is it possible? Like, obviously we're not gonna waste much time there, but you know, down the bracket, like, are there angles where like, you know, I remember a perfect example when Purdue was matched up against Little Rock about 7 years ago in the first round. And that's one of those games that Brett and I diagnosed as like, wait a second, these are like exact replicas of teams. Purdue's like -7. Like, sure, Purdue could blow them out. Purdue's the better team. But hold on a second. There's not a better team in the country that matches up with Purdue than that team. Well, you know, and then look at it from other angles, other data points, and it's like, okay, well, that, you know, we're going to go with that type value bet. So, 1 point game, Colorado up 1.
Come on, Boise. What's total at?
Low. It's 50-49.
But what's it at?
It's not up. I mean, there's only a minute left, so can't be.
Oh, so we need OT.
You'd need OT. And even OT.
Well, I need Boise State to win. Like the plus 200. Yeah. I need the plus 200.
You could have got nice Colorado start. Plus 2.5. Could have tried to middle that.
Yeah, I'm not in. I'm streaming here. Like I'm not.
I know. I'm busy. Should we go through a bracket?
Yeah. I wanted to go first a little bit about Duke for Ed. So we have here, you know, the shot quality, adjusted offense, adjusted defense, rim and 3-rate ranks. We have scoring distribution, both from a scoring perspective and an allowed perspective. Some layups, mid-range versus 3-pointers. We also have splits by how the team performs first half versus second half. So basically, this just looks at the volume of how often, you know, a certain team scores how many points in each half. So for instance, in this chart here, just like a good example is, so we're looking at Duke first half and second half performances. And we can see that their first half median points is 35. Their second half median points is 38. Obviously, like most teams score more points in the second half than the first half. This also gives you a range of what those outcomes look like. So we can see, for instance, in the second half, their range of outcomes is pretty wide and pretty even. So, you know, they could score 32 points or they could score 48 points in equal percentage opportunities. So a very wide kind of distribution here. In the first half, it looks like pretty dominant that, you know, they're going to score somewhere in like 32, 33, 35 points a super majority of the time. And they don't go over that. That's like far less frequent of an outcome. And again, just can give you help of a sense of what a team's kind of range of outcomes is for scoring over the course of like first halves and second half. So again, just an interesting data point. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Again, our height analysis, height leverage custom index looks at Duke, gives them an 18th rank overall. We can see from a positional perspective how tall they are or shorter relative to average. So their center is 2 inches taller than average center. Their power forward, 2 inches taller than the average power forward. Point guard, 1 inch taller than the average point guard, and so on. And then we break it down by each of their kind of top 10 individual players, look at their height relative to the average height, and also by minutes. So how often does that player play? And this is also critical, and this feeds into our overall kind of height leverage index. Again, we package all this information and more, like what I talked about, into the height leverage index. So if you don't know like what information is important, you don't need to. Just look at the index. That's what's going to give you the sense of what all this information means. But this also gives you a sense of, again, you look at an average height, okay? Look at Duke, just at the average height, that's it. They have a 6'10 player, a 6'9 player, and a 6'9 player. You'd be like, damn, they're super tall. They play 12 minutes, 8 minutes, and 7 minutes. Like, they're not playing a lot of minutes. So this like overcompensates their average height. So that could potentially be misleading, which is why you want to look at all the other kind of stats and analytics and indicators that should be associated with being tall. And that's baked into our height index. Again, our custom schedule X-ray, looking at Duke. Again, a lot of big wins, a lot of small losses. Biggest loss, North Carolina, lost by 10. This is another cool thing, like with this margin bar graph. You can just quickly eyeball like where their kind of outlier performances are. You know, you don't gotta have to like individually look at every single score here. You can just quickly glance and see what those outcomes look like. And then also from a spread perspective. So that's another interesting thing here. We can see is a lot of big wins, like from an absolute perspective, but from an ATS perspective, not nearly as attractive. And we can sum that up here in the top. Betting P&L, all right? So the methodology here is a hypothetical bettor bets $100 on Duke's closing spread and $100 on Duke's closing money line. If you did that strategy for every single game, how much money did you make by the end of the season? Congratulations, you made $6 betting Duke blindly, which is probably actually not bad. Like betting Duke, like a very well-known team that probably everyone loves. The fact that you're not like down $500 is probably pretty good. But for like the thousands of dollars that you put into play to get a $6 return
and time,
assuming
you did stuff,
yeah, you should just put it in a T-bill at 5%. Would have been much better. But we look at Duke quad 1, quad 2 victories also, kind of split. Again, nothing like super sexy here, or no buy signal from Duke. Quad 1, 5-4. Quad 2, 6-4. Okay, so they're wishy-washy. I mean, they don't get destroyed, but they also don't destroy. Heavily reliant on starters. Bottom 50th percentile in depth, younger than most. Bottom 50th percentile in experience. Those are two factors I do not like for March Madness. Red hot from 3. They're good at 3, but don't shoot many. So 177th in attempts. Let's look at shot quality, rim and 3 rate. Yep, and that matches up with the rim and 3 rate. 161st. We know modern basketball leans in to this rim and 3 rate. That's the most efficient play. Go straight to the hoop or shoot the 3. Don't lean into, mid-range and whatnot. So yeah, that's a little bit of a synopsis on Duke. And here's one reason why no one made any money betting spreads on Duke, is because they were pretty efficiently priced over the course of the season. I mean, this is almost like, this is super tight. It almost lines up perfectly. No money to be made in a super public team like Duke. So do you think this is going to change in March Madness? Potentially. I probably won't be betting Duke.
No, I definitely won't. Well,
Ooh,
so
very tight totals. Very tight totals. 10 points. So the mean volatility in Duke over-unders is plus or minus 10 points. So remember, we were looking at Boise. It was plus or minus 20 points. So you needed a much wider deviation. And we're seeing that, again, even in today's game. We could see even the 20-point deviation. Again, that's just the 66% level. And we see what the total in today's Boise game is going to undershoot by 40 points, or is it over?
I don't know. It's close. I mean, looks like Boise's going to lose.
Damn.
They're down 5, or they were down 5. I don't know if it's over.
But the bottom line is, you look at Boise's over/under chart, and it gives you what it tells you is their over/unders very dramatically.
Wide range. Yep.
So again, I got 30 points of value. I took the 116.
Oof, that missed.
And I'm still gonna lose. But again, there was a yellow flag, which the 20-point is at least that's when you start getting interested.
Yeah.
And so for Duke games, it's going to be that 10% threshold. But again, this is 66% of the time. So 33.5% of the time, it still falls even farther out that curve. Mm-hmm. But again, this is just the one standard deviation. So for over/under for Duke games, you're looking at this 10% threshold. So if you get access to this guide, you can use these mean volatility as kind of your signal thresholds for when you start to get in. Again, you don't want to use this, and I said this earlier, and again, Boise is a good example. You don't want to necessarily use this as just your one single indicator, blindly use it to buy or sell. Obviously, you want a more contextual understanding. Ideally, you're kind of, again, watching the game, monitoring the game, having fun with it, and you use this as something to complement your overall strategy, some quantitative signal that helps support your overall kind of decision making. You're not just subjectively kind of thinking random things and getting caught up in the moment and the energy and the emotion of the game. Bring it back to the data, bring it back to the math. These are the types of things that can help guide your betting. So a really, really cool chart, really signal to help your live betting for that.
Well, so are they getting upset by Vermont? That's the bigger question.
Well, here's. Did you order this in the?
What?
Did you reorder this in the order of matchups?
Yeah, matchups. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So yeah, here's Vermont. So 9-23 over/under.
Oof. Well, they have one of the slower tempos in the league.
Yeah, they're short kings, bottom 20th in percentile in height.
Yep.
Bench decently deep, top 20th percentile in depth. Blessed by the gods. So according to ShotQuality, they're 20% worse than their record. So that's like a good 5 games that they overperformed by. Obnoxiously slow pace, bottom 20th percentile in tempo. Bad from 3, and shoots a ton. That's a nasty combo.
And they're small. They're tiny down low.
Yeah, they're short kings.
Yeah, it's a tall order to beat Duke, I think. Like we said, Duke has a little bit of size, I know, in the depths, but even their 7-footer plays 27 minutes. Yeah, but I guess that's just that's their only guy. Their guards aren't very big, 6 foot, 6'2", 6'3".
And again, when we look at the consensus ratings across, again, different analysts and models, again, using kind of ShotQuality as our kind base case kind of signal, ShotQuality is well off market. So on Vermont, to the bearish degree for Vermont. So we look at Ken Pom, Bart Torvik, Evan Maya, again, notable names in the industry from an analytics perspective, all have Vermont in the 100 to 90 range, and ShotQuality is at 134. So meaningfully off market there. That would be a fade to Vermont. We see Vermont has gotten hot over the last 2 months or so. So that's where we can see, again, some analysts and other models starting to buy in to Vermont, getting infatuated, romanced by this recent performance here. ShotQuality doesn't buy it. I'm with ShotQuality. I don't buy it. I'm fading. 265th in our height leverage index. Yeah, nothing really to like much here. And again, look at all those unders. Again, this visualizes that 9 and whatever that we saw up above. This visualizes. Look at all those unders.
Well, I mean, to me, it's going to come down to tempo. Like, are they a Virginia light team? How did Virginia perform against Duke? Maybe that's a kind of comp that you can call to see. Let's go to the schedule real quick for Duke. Here we go. They played Virginia. They beat 73-48. And did they play them twice or just once? Maybe just once.
Oh, smoked Virginia, yeah, by 30.
Yeah. So I can't. I mean, I would put that game in a similar comp, as far as like styles, how Virginia likes to play and that type of thing.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much from Vermont to give confidence. Because if anything, if you were like, I want a piece of Vermont, I think what you'd have to do is consider the first half, because you'll see that a lot in March Madness, especially. These teams are playing teams like they've never played before, and everyone's had layoffs of like days and days, and there's some sweaty palms and nerves. So if there's a time for a big dog that you think is still going to win to struggle, it's probably the first half. But I imagine Duke's going to kick it into gear at some point.
Thanks for joining, Andrew. Yep, we know it's starting to get late.
Oh, they
what's our slogan for tonight? We're marching towards midnight with madness.
Marching towards midnight madness. Marching towards madness at midnight.
So another thing I would call out that I would use. Andrew's Colorado -3 wins.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, Andrew. Andrew's gonna sleep tight.
Hey, the +7.5 would have hit by a half point.
Bang!
Boom, boom.
Well, again, that's where you wanted to use. Again, that's when you start to get interested. Layer on with the other context. Again, those mean volatility thresholds for buy-sell signals, again, super sharp. If you get access to this book, use that as just your baseline strategy.
Yeah, it gives you a framework, right?
Yeah,
and that's kind of the point.
Another way that I use this, the enhanced schedule X-ray, is again, I look at teams' max leads and max deficits to try to understand again, like how do they perform, and again, you can visualize it, depending on what you like. This is also visualized here in our candlestick charts. But so I'm looking at essentially any time Duke was down by double digits, and we can look at this here, is all right. So anytime this kind of crosses this 0 threshold, how often do they mount a comeback? So, they've certainly done it. No, like they've never really been down more than 10. So so you can use this 10-point threshold here, right here, this 10-point threshold. They've gone down by 10, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And 4 out of those 5 times they've lost. So basically, like, I would use that as like a soft signal, again, amongst all the other signals I'm using, but it's like, all right, well, Duke gets down by 10, and I'm not saying they're going to get down by 10 to Vermont, but again, throughout the tournament, if they get down by 10, I mean, they're not in great territory. They've not necessarily established a pattern of performance of actually mounting comebacks when whatever the reason is that they're down by 20, or I mean down by 10. So anyway, that's another way that I kind of use these sorts of thresholds and how I use this enhanced schedule X-ray as well. One thing I haven't done is looked at like line moves and see if that kind of provides any sort of signal in the sense of, because obviously the line move is giving you a sense of market appetite for potential pricing mismatches before the game. And like how sharp is the market and actually during that, price discovery. And we know college basketball is much tighter than like something like NFL, of course. Like in the sense of like the time frame for which price discovery actually happens. Yeah. For the NFL, and so a shorter time for price discovery, the more loosey-goosey it is. Mm-hmm. The longer time period, the more efficient and tighter the actual line move will be. In the NFL, it's a whole week of price discovery. In college basketball, sometimes it can be just a few days or a day. But again, this is something, potentially worth looking at as well as is the market sharp in evaluating this team leading into tip off? Do you want to use that as a potential signal? Do you want to, because, that's something I feel like anecdotally, right, Zach, that we know a lot of people always cite in real time, certainly, is, the spread has moved 2 points in this team's direction. I can't possibly fathom betting the other side now. I'm losing 2 points. I'm going to have negative 2 points of CLV. Mm-hmm. CLV, bro.
We got 20. We got 20 points of. We got 20 points of LLV, and we still lost
by 10, by 15.
Well, not that much. It came over 113 at the end, but.
Oh damn! So the 116. God damn, got close.
Close. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's what one thing I want to mention about that is everyone on betting Twitter has a different agenda, has a different goal and position, right? So it's a lot like, I remember when I walked into a casino for the first time to play poker, literally like 18 years old, walking into Hard Rock Casino, and I didn't know which table I was supposed to go to. They told me to go to, and these older men at a big table were waving me to come sit with them. They're like, "Oh, come on, man, come on, you sit with us." And like, I was like, "Oh, is this where I go?" They're like, "Yeah, man, come on, sit with us." Like, it just like everyone's at a different stage and a different position. And so when your betting touts, when your betting personalities go, this is how things have to go, it's like they're over generalizing, because like kind of like you're the mark, right? Like they want you to buy their service, and so it's like they almost like try to paint this picture like this is the rule book and they are the gatekeepers. It's like, shut the fuck up. No, you're not the gatekeeper. There are good advice metrics to follow, to not overextend, to play your position, to not give books all the advantage, blah, 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 blah. But like, it's all your personal risk management, right? Like when I have a bankroll of 2K, there's a different risk management than when I have a bankroll of 20K, right? Like things change, or 200K, right? Like things evolve based on certain different, positions of where you're at. So that's why I don't like to broad stroke, like you should never do this, or you should always do this, or you can't do that. Like, to your point, holistically now is the CLV touts are like, they're trying to sell you a product that CLV means I'm a good bettor. It's like, maybe not.
It's a maybe. Again, it's certainly it's like
better than not. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, do you want a better price? Sure. Absolutely. But it's about at what cost.
Yeah.
Okay. If the cost often is information, the most valuable commodity when it comes to any sort of price speculation, whether it's in sports betting or traditional financial markets, that's probably a bad trade. In fact, that's probably negative EV trade when you're compensating for access to information. Like oftentimes, again, in NFL especially, when injuries are just so critical to the broader kind of evaluation of a team and just waiting for information, and again, that's why we lean so much into live betting, because we feel like you can't get the most mispriced intelligence is in game, where information is coming in so fast, markets can't adjust efficiently. Also, sports books betting pricing models are pretty much all purely algorithmic, so a lot of price exploitation there as well. But yeah, basically, again, pre-game betting is. I'm not overly influenced by a negative price move or whatnot. And, again, I just feel like it always takes on so much bigger of a reputation pre-game. Pre-game, everyone's very influenced by the line movement, Well, how many people are really going to take a look at this enhanced X-ray that we have here? And again, it's going to look at the line move. And it's going to use the line move as a signal for future bets. Maybe. But again, and I think it's interesting, but so far out of the feedback we've gotten, no one said like, oh, I love that line move data. Like there is edge there. If you don't think there's any back-tested historical edge in line moves, then why are you using line moves for future trades? You're saying there's no signal in line moves. Oh, but this line move scares me.
Well, it reminds me of the I think it was 2 years ago now, when first week of the season it was Aaron Rodgers, comeback tour or something, MVP tour part 2, and playing the Vikings, who are clearly like on the downward trend with Mike Zimmer, and it was like the perfect setup where the line was just completely wrong, right? It was Vikings -2, -3. It was -3 at one point, Vikings, and we were like, well, the line should be Green Bay -3, but it's the first game of the season, so no one knows. Everyone's speculating, right? Everyone's prognosticating the future. But it's like the line kept dropping, but we kept buying because it went to 2.5, -2, -1.5, who gives it? Like, who cares? Right? It's like if you are confident that it is mispriced and it's still mispriced, then there can be value there. It's obviously being selective, but like, oh, you got negative CLV, you can't be sustainable. It's like I don't always look for negative CLV, like, but if it's there when I'm confident that it doesn't matter, then just like an extension bet of an alt line, right? You're essentially, why are you you're getting the Bears -7.5 versus Washington. How stupid can you be? It's like, but look at the value I'm getting. Like it's all situational, it's all contextual. Your risk is lower. So again, it's a holistic equation. It's not just a binary, you have to do X to get Y. Like,
yep.
But that's how we
let's look at actually before we do a bracket. I know we got to get to the brackets already.
I'm already doing brackets. I'm like,
dude, we got to do at least one bracket.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it now.
Well, but before
it'll give us a chance to touch on each team too as we do it, like briefly, like
yeah.
All right, who is more head
Before we do the bracket,
yep.
What's the first game tomorrow? Because that's what everyone's probably most.
All right.
Again, everyone is just a slut for action, and it's what have you done for me lately? What's the next game? I don't care about the game tomorrow at 5 p.m. I care about the game tomorrow at 9 a.m.
First game, first set of games. They all happen at the same time. All right, so we got Michigan State, Mississippi State. That's a good one.
That's the very first tip-off?
That's the first one. 30 minutes later, we got Duquesne, BYU. Duquesne. Then we have Akron, Creighton. Then we have Long Beach State, Arizona. Not that interesting, actually.
Okay, so the first game is Michigan State, Mississippi State.
Yeah.
All right, let's just... This can be almost like a proxy for the bracket. This is our first matchup. So let's look at Michigan State.
Michigan State.
What do you know about Michigan State first? As a fundamental better extraordinaire of sorts.
Well, I mean, obviously Tom Izzo. From my remembering Michigan State over the years with Izzo is the team seems to outperform when expectations are low and seem to shit the bed when expectations are high. Obviously, that's not always going to be true, but my general flavor of Michigan State with Tom Izzo is that tends to be the case. So obviously, this is more of like a down year. Like they're not that good. They're, lower expectations. Mississippi State's coming a little hot. So my initial inclination is obviously to find a way to I want to back Mississippi State is like my feeling. But something tells me there's more there that could be obviously not correct. So that's what I'm looking to.
Michigan State strength of schedule 14th, so they've had a tough schedule. So even though again their results have been less than pristine, at least they have that they played a tough record, a tough schedule. I mean, they played 12 quad 1 games, 11 quad 2 games,
and out of conference. I mean, they played James Madison, Duke, Butler, Arizona, Baylor. I mean, that's tough, and in the Big Ten. So, all
right. So they lost to James Madison right off the bat,
which is a 3-loss team. So that's James Madison's one of the better mid majors.
Yeah, and they were 15-point favorites.
Yeah.
To open the season, lost. So that's also notable because that really sets the table for just broader kind of market sentiment for a team. That first impression, and then they followed through a loss to Duke. And again, we can look at this margin column and just quickly visualize: did they win or lose, and by how much? Again, don't really have to zoom into the scores, do mental math and all that stuff. And this is a really nice, just gives you a very strong sense. And then again, we have the ATS margin over here as well, so we can just quickly see how much did they cover by, did they cover, how often did they cover, all that jazz. But yeah, we see Butler. All right, played Arizona, lost to Wisconsin, lost to Nebraska, beat Baylor, and then in conference.
Well, they played Indiana State too. The darling that just missed the tournament for Virginia's sake. Son of a bitch. Yeah, a tough schedule. So definitely battle tested.
So tough schedule. So basically what a tough schedule just says is okay, let's not judge them too harshly by their record alone. What does ShotQuality say? Okay, ShotQuality says 1.5% better than record. Okay, so that lines up as well. Even from a luck perspective, they've earned more victories than they actually do. Tons of chemistry and trust. Top 10th percentile in continuity. I love that as a factor for March Madness. Pristine health. Top 10th percentile in health. That's another good thing. Can score in bunches. Top 20th percentile in 10-0 runs. That's another good thing. Older than most. Top 20th percentile in experience. Cha-ching. Heavily reliant on starters. That's not a good thing. Bottom 50th percentile in depth. Bottom 50th percentile. So, I mean, they're worse than average, but it's not terrible. I like what I see here.
Yeah. And
also look at this shot quality. Actually, again, signal. Shot quality. I guess maybe they're kind of in line with the market. Again, the market's kind of all over the place. Kind of anywhere from 25, 17. So it's kind of average. But look at the futures price absolutely collapsed since the beginning of the year. Rankings history absolute collapsed into the end of the year.
And if you think about it,
bad. Our sentiment analysis 63%. Yeah, great. Sentiment's bad.
If you think about it, you're getting Michigan State at a low point, which for a team coming into the season that was top 5, right? Obviously lost the bat, then lost to Duke. So then they recovered, and then now they've dropped again. So who is the real Michigan State, so to speak? Obviously, they're probably not one of the best teams, but they have some of the key things you look for a team you're backing, low expectations, but they're actually seasoned veteran team with a really good coach. Playing Mississippi State, how good is Mississippi State really? Do we know? Obviously, we'll get to them. But let's finish up Michigan State, and then we'll get to Mississippi State.
But yeah, so sentiment is bad. So again, we always want to use some sort of again, even if not quantitative, if qualitative, a multi-factor model to assess our bets, which essentially means we want to use multiple factors in our analysis. We don't ever want to like isolate to just one single factor, overweight that, and that drives our entire decision making. Again, unless it's just that alpha rich of a mispriced signal. But again, so looking at using sentiment as one factor in our multi-factor model, our sentiment signal would be saying Michigan State's a buy. Michigan State's a buy. Fan sentiment is in the toilet. Rankings history's in the toilet. Futures price history's in the toilet. I mean, they're almost a double-digit seed. Seeding rank is in the toilet. And when I look at the team factor DNA, I see a bunch of green flags, the types of things that if you're going to bet on a team in the tournament, especially again for brackets, again, not just betting, but like, all right, I want to pick a team who's a little underrated and I want to predict them to potentially go a little bit far. This is what you want to see. You want to see chemistry. You want to see health. You want to see a team who can put 10-0 run together. You want to see a team that has experience, that's older.
Weather the storm, yeah. And the only thing I'm looking at now, the height analysis, the only thing I'll say to key on before we get to Mississippi State, so it's in our head, is, I mean, they're top 4 out of 5 guys that play the most minutes are under 6'4". I mean, 4 out of 5. That's short. So to the point. Yeah,
but again, we look at the height leverage index. They're 80th. It's not bad. Yeah. It's not bad.
But I mean, you're playing a top 50 team now, right? So it's not great either. So.
Yeah, but again, we look at their strength of schedule. I mean, top 50 team. That's an average day in the walk in the park.
Well, so speaking of, how much does that height come at a disadvantage with some of the teams they play? Obviously, like Purdue, they lost to Purdue.
Well, again, and also we can see again in the average height, because again, you want to like layer all these signals together. You look at so what you just said. Oh, their top 3 out of 4, whatever, are below 6'5", whatever. But again, when we look at where's that coming from? And it's coming from small forward and small guard, like where you can afford to be shorter than average.
Yeah, but if everyone's short, then I mean, you have a 6'11" center who doesn't even play 20 minutes a game. Then you have a 6'8".
Again, that's why the height leverage index is telling us again exactly what I said before, even to the inverse. So say you're not tall. Should we discount you then? Should we say, oh, this team's not tall, so they're not going to be good at tall type things?
Well, so
the height leverage index is telling us that in fact they're better than what their height tells you they are. They do the types of things somebody who's tall does. They do those things even for being short.
So if this matchup, let's say, was going to be against Florida, which is a tall team that also has a high height leverage custom signal rank, that's where I would be more concerned. So that's why let's get to Mississippi State and see, how does it match up?
The one red flag I will say before we move on from Michigan State, rim and 3 rank, rim and 3 rate from ShotQuality. Again, this is the epitome of modern efficient basketball, and they're almost dead last in all of Division I basketball.
Oof, that's bad.
That's not good.
And if you go to their final chart, the Vegas spread and totals analysis, their totals have been dipping hard to the under the last half of the season, and a lot more.
Trending lower.
Just food for thought.
Setting new lows pretty much all the second half of the season. Lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. Meanwhile, you can see the white, which is the Vegas expectations, it hasn't really adjusted much. It kind of just stays in the same range, whereas the trajectory has certainly been lower. And this coincides with conference play.
Yeah, that's a good point. And less volatility in conference as well as far as score ranges. Very, very tight, consistent in conference. So if we think Mississippi State is a similar Big Ten type matchup, you could see a similar range of, Michigan State probably won't go up too much, probably won't go down too much, within the like minus 14, down 14, up 10 range is probably where this game's going to live. So if Michigan State was up 16, obviously you need context as to why that's happening, but like might be a good buy opportunity for the other way type thing.
Yeah, so I guess this is where, again, it comes to be a tough matchup because we just talked about all the things that we would like about Michigan State. And again, that's in an isolated, standalone basis outside of any sort of matchup analysis. And when we look at the matchup, I mean, this is a good matchup.
Well, let's see.
So,
let's talk
again,
about it.
Mississippi State, tons of chemistry and trust, top 10th percentile in continuity, pristine health, top 10% in health,
Very
older than
similar
most,
teams.
top 20th percentile in experience. Less prone to score in bunches, bottom 50th percentile in 10-0 runs, so they don't put a lot of 10-0 runs together. Michigan State more prone to doing that. I'm still leaning towards Michigan State based on this factor DNA, but it's certainly come closer. Mississippi State strength of schedule 27th also kind of rhymes with Michigan State as well. Very battle tested and just hasn't performed as well when battle tested. 4-9 quad 1, 4-3 quad 2. So kind of lines up similarly with Michigan State. This is a big outlier though, the over margin. So over margin is essentially telling you by how many points has this team's totals gone over Vegas expectations over the course of the season, and they've gone over their total by almost 100 points. That's a big difference from Michigan State. So they got a lot of overs. Yeah, so there's a lot more overs. And look at their total volatility. Massive.
Oh yeah, all over the map. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Roller coaster.
Yeah, so Mississippi State certainly, and then we look at Michigan State. Again, trending more towards unders. But actually, I don't know. I feel like I want to use, because again, we see that a lot of those unders came during conference play. But I mean, yeah, they don't even go over 150.
Yeah.
They've gone over 150 only a handful of times all season. But that's going to be an interesting kind of matchup. It's just the Mississippi State tending to go over, Michigan State tending to go under. Will be interesting. What's the so we can see here.
Well, in the height signal, they look. They're a little bigger down low. Looks like they have 2'6'7" forwards, 6'11" center that are in the starting lineup, and then 2 short guards as well.
Yeah, but again, like, see, what I would say is I wouldn't get too wrapped up in like the potential visual like misleading mismatches we see here. Yeah, because if we look at just this height, this is raw height. Again, just public factual information. This is what everyone knows and everyone sees. Everyone's gonna see this and say, like, height mismatch. But if we trust our height leverage index, saying they're basically
even. Yeah.
So like, I discount this.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if it was Florida's height leverage,
well, yeah,
I would be more concerned, obviously, right?
Yes. But also, even Florida's height index probably is going to come down because it doesn't compensate for the injury that they got.
That's right.
The guy. So, if anything, this would say maybe Michigan State is underpriced. Mississippi State is overpriced if people are kind of using this inciting this as a reason to like Mississippi State. Look at this. Like, also, this is wild. This is like the first time I've seen this skinny of. Essentially, Mississippi State does not score more than 40 points in the second half or the first half.
Yeah. Also, they can dry up. They can.
And it looks like in the second half, they will not be slow. They will not be fast. They will score somewhere in the range of 36 to 40 points in the second half. That's heavy volume, all consolidating in that exact range of outcomes in the second half.
It's very interesting.
So basically what this tells me is essentially like when you see some sort of skinny ridge plot like this, is that this team is very predictable in the sense of how many points to score in a particular half.
Or consistent, rather, right?
Very consistent, yeah.
What's their resume? So obviously we said Michigan State played, some really good out of conference. Mississippi State beat Washington State out of conference. They lost to Georgia Tech. That's interesting. They beat Rutgers, and that's really all they're out of conference. So not really tested out of conference much. Maybe one good team they played. In conference, they did beat Tennessee. They beat Auburn. They stopped Auburn, held Auburn to 58 points. Is that really it?
Yeah, closed week to end the season. Lost to Kentucky, lost to Auburn, lost to A&M, lost to South Carolina. Again, all tournament teams.
I know. And who'd they beat? They beat in the tournament. They beat Tennessee in the tournament again. I think they did. I'm not sure the chart has the last game they played in the tournament, but
yeah, right.
They stopped. Who they stop? Did they stop Tennessee? I can't remember now. But I mean, they lost 4 games in a row leading up to the tournament.
Yeah.
And during the season, they beat Auburn once, and they beat Tennessee once, and they beat Washington State. I'm not sure this team's that good. Like obviously, like season and all that stuff, but their rim rate is much better than Michigan State's.
Oh yeah, that rim rate. Gotta have a high rim rate.
I think this is hold on. One thing I want to look at is their volatility on comebacks. So, well, that's interesting. Is that?
What are we looking at?
So their enhanced schedule X-ray, max lead versus max deficit. Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest.
A lot of big max deficits.
Dun, dun, dun. Let me see. Where is totals?
Anybody in the chat, if you want to see any specific team, let us know. But I think we can move on to bracket.
Yeah, brackets. And I'm going to be right back one more time, and then let's do
Jesus.
brackets. This time it's serious.
You got the runs? Zach's a vegan, for anyone who doesn't know, so he's got to be close to the bathroom at all times. No offense to any other vegans, it's a fact of life. So yeah, anybody in the chat want to chime in? Let us know if you want to see any specific team, or talk about any specific chart if you want more information about it. Again, we've kind of dived into a lot of these. One thing we haven't really talked about a lot is the player analysis box. Again, we kind of isolate just the top 6 players. We look at their overall rank, and we're kind of leveraging this rank from Evan Maya's index that he uses, all public information. And then we built, again, similar to our height leverage index, built a multi-factor model to try to assess offensive skill and defensive skill using a host of, again, various different variables, all optimized, again, using machine learning to try to understand what those kind of, again, optimal weights are, using data going back to 2010, again, just for kind of general positional players. And then to put them on a scale, essentially of like 0 to 100 in percentiles. And so that's where you can see the offensive skill. This is putting the player on a position of 0 to 100, essentially, in a percentile, to give you a general sense of how good they are from an offensive and defensive perspective, kind of relative to history. And you can see, if you can't see the dot, it basically means not good at that particular thing. So this Tolu Smith defense, not very good at defense, but very good in offense. Certainly, Tolu Smith's strong suit is his offense. Doesn't shoot any threes. I think he's attempted 0 threes. And then we have this NBA column over here as well that we looked at. Tankathon essentially just looks at, the top, what is it, like 75 college basketball players and kind of ranks them according to, value in the NBA draft. And so if you see a number here, no numbers here, but if you see a number here, that means, they're NBA caliber player. So like, who's got an NBA caliber player? We can kind of.
Marquette has a couple.
Marquette?
Yeah, I've seen a couple on there.
Marquette, where are you? There you are. Yeah, so again, I have no idea who the fuck these guys are. Totally out of the loop. Actually, I kind of know Tyler Kolek. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but I've definitely heard him before. Seen him play in the past. There was drama around him. I saw him on Twitter. Anyway, he, according to evaluations, again, is an NBA quality player. Second round pick. Oso Ighodaro, late first rounder, but NBA talent level. So again, this, you don't need to get wrapped up in the details here, but essentially it just gives you an implicit indication of this is an NBA quality player. So again, just more information to help you kind of quickly, again, digest who is this team, who the fuck are these players, who's good, who's bad, does this team shoot the three a lot, are they good at it, are they experienced, do they have continuity, what does their first half or second half splits look like, how do they perform in game, are they tall, even if they aren't tall, are they good at tall types of things, all of this, all packaged in 4 pages per team, 275 pages, built in essentially less than a week. Totally killed us. I'm still battling the scars.
Depression.
All right, let's get to the bracket though.
All right, bracket time.
Can you pull the bracket? Can you share your screen?
I gotta get a bracket up. Hold on. CA merch. This bracket. Hold on.
I'm eating these Skittles gummies as my freaking dinner.
Gross. That's disgusting.
It's actually pretty good. I mean, they are giving me a stomach ache, but it's a smooth ride.
All right, bracket challenge play. Oh, it's gonna make me want to sign up. I want to sign up. Fucking A.
Dude, I'll do our leagues that we're gonna be in. And actually, I mean, do you have energy or no?
I am running on fumes. I go to bed soon.
Damn. Because there's this, those other more exotic style March Madness contest.
Oh, the pick your team not to lose type thing.
Yeah, I got invited to one of those. It's fun.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, so here's an example of, and maybe if we don't do it, maybe we can at least just offer our viewers what we would do in these instances. If I can find it. Are you going to bring up the bracket?
I was trying to find an interactive one, but I wasn't able.
Oh yeah, well, what about CBS or ESPN or something? Oh, yeah, here we go. NCAA 4-in-1 pool. So essentially, there's 4 elements. One, obviously, you have the traditional bracket. The second is Survivor. On each of the first 2 days of the tournament, select any 2 teams to win. So let's do that. Let's pick 2 teams to win for Survivor on Thursday.
Okay.
And then there's a wins pool. Choose 1 team per seed, 1 to 16, with the purpose of having your 16 teams win as many as possible. And then pick 7 pool. Pick any 7 teams in the NCAA tournament, and for every game they win, we will earn the amount of points. Blah blah blah. So you want to pick like your best. And so if you pick a 6 seed, you earn 6 points for each win. If you pick a 1 seed, you only earn 1 point for each victory. So let's do this. Actually, this doesn't actually take that much time.
Okay.
So we can come back to this. Like, let's just run through one round of the bracket to just give us context, and then we can kind of come back to some of these questions.
All right. Well, so how about this?
Also, if anyone wants in on this pool that I just discussed, the guy who runs it wants as many people in it. So shoot me a DM if you want. I'll forward you the link. Again, it's a 4-in-1s pool. You have a bracket element, a survivor element, this wins pool element, and a pick 7.
What's the price?
$100.
Whew.
It's $100 for the whole thing, and this dude gets 100 people to join, so the payout's gonna be good.
Let's do a bracket and figure out kind of how.
And also the payout, by the way, is 25% for each element.
Well, and even these, even the 1 versus 16 stats in UConn. Let's briefly go through the deck and see. We don't want to give away the whole thing, but is there anything we can glean from it? Oh, okay, I didn't know this about the Huskies, and I didn't know this about Stetson. What do we think? Kind of like a one-off observation about either.
Well, what's Dan says Kentucky's a good survivor. Zach knows my motto for them. What's his motto for them?
Dan, what's your motto for them?
Fuck them kids.
Fuck them.
Wow, so you don't know Dan's motto?
I can't remember. Dan, it's been a week, man. I told Dan we were gonna get him up on a live. I told Dan we should get him on a live stream too, to talk madness, give us his take, since he pays attention more to what's going on. So real quick, one thing I want to say about the Huskies, based on the research I have done, is I have not, because
You're pretty good.
I hate I just want to give context first. I absolutely hate backing favorites. I just can't stand looking at an angle of ooh, how can I back this minus 600 team? So I don't like it. Obviously, the futures on the Huskies is plus 600, plus 700. I just think, based on everything I see with this team, how they did last year into this year, I mean, I don't know. To me, there's not a better team in the last 15 years to go back-to-back than the Huskies. As far as the competition in this tournament, who they are, how they fared last year, how they're doing this year. It's as close as I feel like we're going to see for some time, potentially. So if there was a year to have a back-to-back champion, I could see that. I
really like the Huskies, man. I know they're just consistent. They just keep winning, but let's just quickly find a bearish argument. Or UConn.
Your first one's blessed by the gods. Giants among men. Obnoxiously slow pace. Heavily reliant on starters. Pristine health. Prone to scoring sprees. So, obnoxiously slow pace is the only thing I see right now.
But I think I know what the bearish argument was the the shot quality point differential.
Yeah,
was massively underperforming actual point differential.
Yeah.
So that's one element there, which is essentially just telling you that, UConn's good, but maybe they're not as good as some of these final scores.
But I also, when you look at their bracket, which obviously is kind of how we're talking through them, everyone says, oh, the bracket's loaded, but I mean, all right, look at the bracket, right? FAU, Northwestern, I mean, a decent game. I mean, FAU could maybe get that upset.
I mean, FAU is
is legit. They're legit. I mean, they're not as good as last year, but they're legit. San Diego State, UAB, not going to beat UConn. Auburn, Yale. I think Auburn had their run based on a little bit of research I did. Like, again, we'll dig in a little more, but BYU.
Just about like the FAU though. What I do just want to mention is tons of chemistry and trust, pristine health, aggressive offense, older than most, can score in bunches. All right, all of those things, very strong, very good factors. Also matches up well with UConn, and then also from a sentiment perspective, look at this capitulation, just collapse in ranking, collapse in futures prices. I mean, they started the season as a top 20 team, started the season 30-1. Now they're 130-1. Rim and 3 rate, 25th. Love that. Adjusted offense, 12th. Even almost a top 100 defense. I mean, this all plays out like very nicely together.
Might be their toughest game in that bracket.
And then from a shot quality perspective, I mean, they've essentially matched what they've actually scored, which, again, shot quality is a very high bar. Pretty much every team is going to fall short. There's always going to be like these lucky elements that shot quality discounts that everyone kind of benefits from one time or another. And FAU has earned essentially like all of their points, which is pretty impressive. Also, their average scoring drought, 53 seconds. All right, the league average is right around 60 seconds. I mean, this team does not go on scoring droughts. So they're always going to kind of be in it. Scoring points.
All right, so there is one negative.
Yeah.
The height leverage is terrible for them, and UConn's top 10. And this is
it can't all be gravy.
Well, and this is where UConn. So why I like UConn is like that Florida team when I was a fan, and I was in high school, college, can't remember. They had a robust team that could beat you in multiple ways. Generally speaking, champions in any sport are rarely one-dimensional. Like they're really good at one thing, but then there's like a pivot or another side that's also pretty good. And that's why UConn is so hard to beat, because if the main thing's not working, they have other ways to beat you. And so that size advantage is just another obstacle for a team like FAU to have to overcome if UConn's even having like not a great game. And it seems like FAU is like pretty effing short with their top 6-7 players. No one's
there seems like a pretty
one big guy
height disadvantage there.
Yeah. So that could be a tough matchup in that sense. And who have they beaten? They beat Texas A&M. Okay. Virginia Tech they beat. Lost to Illinois, but they did score a good amount. They beat Arizona. Pretty good. Lost to Charlotte, tournament team. Okay. I mean,
all right, let's do this bracket. Let's do it. Start from the top.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing. Let's go. Can you see it?
Okay.
Is it up?
UConn. All right. Yep, it's up.
All right. Boop, 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 boop. All right, we got UConn. FAU Northwestern.
FAU. Yeah. Yep.
San Diego State UAB. Here, let's go. Let's swing to a little bit real quick.
Yeah, so I previewed a little bit of UAB on the Capwise stream earlier, and it looked like all dog piss.
Yep. And San Diego State, let me check their record real quick. I mean, they did beat St. Mary's. I thought that was a pretty impressive win earlier in the season. And they beat Gonzaga, San Diego State. So they've beaten St. Mary's and Gonzaga out of conference. So I don't think they stubbed their toe versus a UAB team.
No, so UAB, 0-4 quad 1, 7-3 quad 2. So, I mean, not terrible. 107th ranked strength of schedule. So, I mean, not terrible there either. Shot quality basically in line from a broader kind of analyst model rankings community perspective. Weird chart here from UAB. Opened the season 67, pretty much straight down for the first 2 months of the season, bottomed at 204, and then has been a rally almost straight back up to the 113 level. 3-point rate, 309th. UAB. So UAB is not shooting three. Mm-hmm. Good at offensive rebounds. That's all I got to say. Rim three rate lines up with what we saw earlier, 191st. Height leverage index, pretty strong, number 40 overall. I mean, yeah, it's just not a lot to love here. Oh, this, friends. This was the sell signal for me for UAB. Rolling point differential, all right? Up. Strong, up. This is what everyone knows. From a shot quality perspective, is down. It's getting worse. And so even as they've been winning, as they've been defeating teams, shot quality basically telling you, yeah, not impressed. Fade.
Noise. Yep.
Noise.
Yep. And again, I think San Diego State of the 5 seeds is probably the trendy fade, even though they made it to the championship last year just because of the name brand. So.
Yep. All right, SD.
Auburn,
yeah. I like Auburn.
Yeah. I just looked at Yale.
I like Auburn probably for a Final Four.
Maybe. BYU Duquesne.
So what do you know about this?
BYU, I think, is generally
white.
Oh, so they they jack up 8 more threes a game than anyone else in the Big Ten. But they were the top scoring offense. In the Big 12. In the Big 12, putting up 81.8 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what else. Yeah, definitely a high flying offense as far as jacking up them threes. Live by the three, die by the three. The question is, can a team keep up or stop them? So that's the question you have to ask, I think, with Duquesne.
Yeah, one of the things I would say about Duquesne is, man, do their totals fly under in some instances.
Interesting.
Like,
so,
let me just see this. Make sure it's not.
Ooh, and they're bad from three. That's tough to beat a team that's. They have to, out of character, be good at threes, or BYU suck.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a tall order to get both at the same time. But they do have 2 strong guards, so maybe they can lead them, kind of get like a 25-point game from one of them.
Yeah, I'm just basically seeing like a lot of essentially like very low scoring games.
Yeah. They lost to Nebraska. Not really any other. They lost to Dayton. They lost to Richmond, a team that was on the cusp of the tournament. So not really any. They did beat Charleston, who's in the tourney. But yeah, other than that, not really any competition.
Yeah, I don't see anything here I like.
Yeah, I think go with BYU. All right, Illinois, Morehead State. Ooh, Morehead. I like me, Morehead. Also slow paced team.
I feel like I got to do research on every single one of these teams.
You probably
Let's
do.
go back to the book.
That's why it's here. Let's actually see.
All right, here we go. Dan's got some insights. Somebody else has got some insights here.
Ooh, ShotQuality has Moorhead as really bad. 212.
Yeah, I mean, Illinois has gotten upset early so often.
Yeah, it's kind of like not trendy to pick them anymore. They do have some height leverage, Moorhead State. They have like a bigger squad. The shortest guy is 6'3", then they got some 6'5", 6'7" guys in the starting lineup. So some length and 66 rank. So is that something Illinois struggles with is the question.
Moorhead, strength of schedule 307th.
Yeah, they didn't. I mean, the only tough tournament team they played looks like Long Beach State, and they lost.
Dude, perfect with I'm glad that our coding, our team DNA factor lines up with what Zach's eye test tells you, because it says obnoxiously slow pace, overly passive offense, less prone to score in bunches, fucked if they get in foul trouble. So all line up with exactly what Dan was saying.
Good.
A lot of positive sentiment kind of coming in. Opened the season 232 all the way up to 133, so definitely mispriced at the beginning of the start of the season. Again, shot quality, not loving either their offense or defense, basically out of the top 200. Yeah, they have 66th in the height leverage index. That's not terrible. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can just see, like, even by the dots, just the pileup of playing all, like, bottom 300 teams.
It's actually a great way to actually look at just that. Like your strength of schedule from, like, a more conceptual view.
Yeah. What we couldn't see is when they play a top 50 team, both times went over.
Yeah, that's a good point. Trying to
And
play
both
catch
times
up.
they failed to cover. But it was marginally close.
Yeah.
In any case, Illinois.
Yeah, I don't think.
Kevin says Illinois Ken Palm defense ranked 152. So is that the opening?
Ooh, I think that's a BYU's gonna have a chance there.
Yeah.
Washington State Drake. My gut is leaning Drake, but I don't know enough about Washington State to have a good opinion, to be honest, at this time. Washington State, very lucky, no chemistry. Giants among men's, they're big, obnoxiously slow, young as F.
Actually, this is going back to Illinois one quick second. This is interesting, the fact that the Illinois height leverage index is 203, yet they have a lot of tall dudes.
Interesting.
Like, from a pure just blanket height perspective, they're very tall.
Yeah. But they don't utilize it, apparently. Also, some of that might be skewed a little bit because of the bigs they have to play, like in the Big Ten, or the Big Ten, potentially.
Yeah, could be.
Playing tougher bigs, so to speak. Let's see.
All right, where are we at?
Washington State.
Pac-12, Washington State. He likes Washington State.
Oh, let me see some Drake.
Oh, he likes Drake. Yeah. No,
I like Drake. I mean, I like Drake before.
You like Drake?
Well, I like Drake, but I don't know enough about Washington State yet to really feel good about it. They're a little short, a little slow, but they have scoring sprees and a methodical offense. mean, ShotQuality has them ranked 60, Elo 11. I mean, Drake's definitely got some upside here. I mean, they got.
So, Kevin, are you trying to make a case against Illinois, not necessarily for Moorhead? Or you're trying to flirt with the idea of Moorhead as an upset candidate, or you're just not impressed with Illinois' lethargic defense? Yeah, I'm fine with doing Drake versus Washington State. I mean, Washington State obviously I think they had two like very prominent wins versus Arizona. Oh yeah, Kevin thinks Illinois is vulnerable in the second round. Yeah, so that's when we're talking about like the BYU matchup.
Drake beat Nevada, and they beat Akron, and they beat Oakland. So that's 3 teams they beat. And they beat Grambling, another tournament team.
Ooh, impressive.
They did lose. They lost to UAB in a tight 1-point affair. Where's Drakey Drake?
Drake 28-6, 4-1 versus quad 1. Okay.
Oh yeah, Drake. I think, and what I like about Drake.
Okay.
Too,
Finish your thought.
But I was just gonna say what I like about Drake too is they have like a top guy. So if you know in March Madness teams that are small or struggle like shouldn't be in games, like they generally need that one guy who can like get them that bucket, right? Think of Kobe, Michael, LeBron, obviously, but for March Madness, like when times are tough, do you have that guy that can go get a bucket, get a shot, that type of thing? And so they have that in Tucker. So that to me gives them an edge from a dog upset perspective.
Yeah. So what I would say, and I remember calling this out during the Capwise stream earlier today, was Drake shorter than most. Okay. In fact, height leverage index 288th.
Yep.
Whereas Washington State 19th. So just like a massive mismatch when it comes to height and all the things that come with height.
Yeah.
Also, Washington State, nice kind of shooting up. Washington State, ShotQuality, certainly underweight Washington State across relative market consensus rankings. ShotQuality is certainly a market low at 57. Also, Washington State, I know, had very low expectations to start the year, and this is kind of emblematic by the betting P&L. Again, a hypothetical bettor who bets $100 on this team spread and money line over the course of the season won almost $1,300 just blindly betting Washington State. That was a pretty good strategy.
Yeah.
That's mostly obviously because we were dramatically mispriced to start the year. ShotQuality says very lucky, no chemistry, very young, heavily reliant on starters. So there's weakness here. Basically, if Drake can overcome... So basically, my trade for this game is... Can Drake overcome the height disadvantage? If they can, all Drake, baby.
So what does that mean for our brackets?
Let's do Drake.
I like it. I like balls. Iowa State, South Dakota State. Iowa State's like a lot like a Virginia team from a defensive perspective.
Yeah, let's do Iowa State. I don't think South Dakota State has it.
All right, let's work back.
I mean, you're coming into like a pro defense.
All right, so now we can move quickly through this, finish this side of the bracket. UConn, FAU. All right, well, so real quick.
This is where UConn.
So hold on a sec.
Mm-hmm.
the question becomes, so my understanding is when you're doing brackets, kind of like how you do DFS, is like if you're so on market, right? You're competing with a bigger pool of people that are all going to have UConn. I'm not saying you go against that just for that reason, but are we trying to like go with like what we think's going to happen, which UConn should win, but like how much are we dovetailing into alternative?
Yeah, you want to like kind of do. Yeah, I understand. Like, you don't want to be off market just to be off market in the beginning, and certainly not in volume because that's how you're going to lose edge.
No.
Just because the math doesn't add up. So you want to figure out who are like, just from a macro perspective, who's like a popular team that we want to fade, and we would take a risk to fade them early. And
yeah.
I guess so. Writ large, what I would say for UConn is it's probably not worth it because just the broader region is relatively weak. Again, it's Auburn or FAU. I don't see who else can take them down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Iowa State's defense could make it tough on UConn, but I think UConn overcomes that because Iowa State's offense is not going to do much against UConn's defense, so it's going to mitigate it. So, all right, so UConn versus, I think Auburn beats San Diego State. I don't trust San Diego State. BYU over Illinois. I think we've talked about that. Iowa State over. I think Drake. I think a team like nah. That's pushing it. I don't.
Unless you really like this Tucker guy.
I kind of do. I don't trust Iowa State. I don't trust teams that are just defensive, like too defensive. Because remember, when Virginia won their championship, it's because they had Jerome, they had Kyle Guy, they had guys that could like really get hot from three.
Yeah.
I don't know if Iowa State has that, to be honest. I just don't know, honestly.
How hot actually is Iowa State right now? Did they just win a big game versus, or are they like hot?
Did they win the Big 12? No. Who won the Big 12 tournament?
Yeah, I thought they did. I thought they beat Houston.
They beat Houston?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's fade them. Fuck. BYU Drake. God, BYU. They're gonna be hot till they face UConn. They get bludgeoned by 30. I like that. You know, UConn, BYU's pretty, fairly off market. I think that's good. My brackets are going to lean heavily UConn Final Four, probably in the championship game or winning, and then trying to get creative on the other sides of bracket. But again, that's my strategy. Doesn't mean I'll be right. I'm just a little too much in love with UConn. All right, let's go to the South. North Carolina Wagner. Obviously, I think we're going to go North Carolina here. Mississippi State, Michigan State. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah, I think
Michigan State, right?
Yeah.
I flipped off Mississippi State. St. Mary's Grand Canyon.
Oh, Dan likes Mississippi State. All right, we got to trade.
I like Mississippi State initially, but I think I've come off it.
And again, I think just like the balance of risk when you're thinking about bracket betting. It doesn't mean like obviously Mississippi State can't win. In fact, Mississippi State may win, but I think it's probably. Do we know what the?
Yeah, I don't have spreads up, so if you want to pull those up, that would be helpful. Hey, you guys are betting? What's the spread? I don't know. Don't care.
What are you guys doing?
We just bet favorites. Like, isn't Fez like sometimes like tout like, oh, you got to get that minus 12,000.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's a style. Oh, Michigan State -1.
Yeah, I like Michigan State. I think I would really like this game live. I think this is a good opportunity to swing both ways again.
You have like a lot of like sexual, like gay sexual innuendo.
Hey, I don't discriminate.
A lot of Freudian slips for you tonight.
What's that in my butt?
Dang it. So Drake, Washington State's a pick'em.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yeah,
No, definitely.
Got to do Drake.
Yeah. St. Mary's Grand Canyon. Sorry, that's what we're looking at. I got distracted because I'm like dead tired. Sorry, guys. Our energy has been drained building this book for 6 straight days. Like 21-hour days. Ugh. All right, St. Mary's. Well, no, I know a little about St. Mary's in general, but just a quick. Tons of chemistry, trust, taller than most, very slow pace. Reliant on starters, but good health. I think it's just like a consistent team. What? Let's see. They have 4 players that can score over 10 points a game, which is nice. 20th in rim and 3 rate. Top 18 defense, adjusted defense, shot quality. Top 32 adjusted offense. Yeah, height leverage is good. Like again, they're a solid team that is unlikely to stub their toe. I feel like. I think Gonzaga is more likely to fall flat.
Yes, definitely.
Alabama, Charleston. Like I don't trust Alabama. So.
Oh, also Grand Canyon, strength of schedule 265th. Blessed by the gods, 20% worse than record according to ShotQuality. Fucked if getting foul trouble, bottom 20th percent in depth.
Actually, I think Grand Canyon's probably a popular 12 pick to beat a 5. You know,
well, very popular. I mean, ShotQuality is also way off market.
Well, and remember when we deep dove this. Honestly, I think it was 10 years ago. What's the narrative is incorrect. 5 seeds beat 12s, yes, at a little bit of a higher clip than 4 seeds, losing to 13. But no one ever talks about 13 seeds beating 4 seeds. But it's like, from a historical data perspective, if memory serves, it's like a few percent difference. It's not really, only 5 seeds get upsets all the time. Like it's pretty close. So, fade the narrative. So to say Charleston beating Alabama at their 4 seed, perfect.
I like Charleston. I was saying this earlier. Actually, this will be like one of the last ones I'll bring up, and I gotta save some for later. But Charleston, this is my bull case for Charleston. So
I like this. I like top 60 in tempo. They can score.
Yep. Top 14 in rim and 3 rate. So I really like that. Height leverage index, top 36th.
Oh yeah, give it to me. And Bama's all over the place. Oh, this game's gonna have some points. What's the total on this?
And then from a shot quality perspective, they've actually outperformed their shot quality score by 10 points. So
I will say my only concern is if you look at their early season schedule, they got blown out by Duquesne, Vermont, and Florida Atlantic. So the 3 toughest teams.
Get out of the way.
I mean, they gave up like 90 points in 2 of those games, which is again, I think the play in this game might just be over. Find your way into an over because we know Alabama likes to.
That's true too.
Score in droves.
Yeah, and
But for tournament's sake, I think Charleston. A little cold feet by Alabama. Charleston gets hot. And again, the thing about tournament time too, especially the first round or two, is like when the team that's supposed to be good or play a certain way, like if the nerves hit them early, like sometimes like it's just one of those games. Like very quickly becomes, that team falls apart basically. So
I like the over in this one. Because basically we're looking at the player splits too from offense and defense on Charleston.
Yeah.
4 out of 5 are top 75 percentile offensive players. That's very attractive. Meanwhile, their defense, 5 out of 6 people are bottom 25th percentile of defensive skill. So they're going to let up points. They have capacity to score points. Again, go into the rim. They play efficient basketball. Rim and 3 rate, top 14 according to shot quality. And again, even their adjusted defense, 142. It's not like they're like absolutely terrible as a team. As an individual player level, like none seem very great. Ben Burnham is, at least looks like he's like one of their best defensive players. One weakness here is free throw rate, 317th. Jesus. I mean, so they're just not getting to the foul line.
Yeah.
Charleston, a pick here.
Charleston.
Yeah.
Clemson.
Yeah, and Dances, Charleston, bad defense, plays fast, plays right into balance. Yep. All right. Well, the data says the exact same thing. So I'm glad there's no bugs in that code.
No. Clemson, New Mexico. I think New Mexico.
And Mexico?
And what?
And Mexico? Clemson versus Mexico?
New Mexico, yeah.
New Mexico. Yeah, New Mexico. New Mexico's favorite.
Yep. Who's next? Oh, Colgate, Baylor.
Baylor. I think Colgate is not the same team.
Dayton, Nevada. I like Nevada based on my general research on both teams. Dayton shouldn't even be in the tournament as the type of team I think they are. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think they're yeah. I like that. I like Nevada. Let's do Nevada.
Well, because real quick, I think they beat St. John's. Yeah, not that impressive. Arizona, Long Beach State. I don't trust Arizona at all. Zero trust. Just a very high-powered offense.
You don't like Arizona?
No. I mean, in general, I don't. I'm not saying I'm going to fade them.
Oh, wow. I actually think they're my championship pick with Creighton.
Creighton I can get behind. I don't trust them either, but I can get behind Creighton. Arizona's, let's see real quick. They do have 4 players NBA talent-wise. But again, that's not always.
No, it's not always. But they're also very well coached. Also, they're not 4 NBA style freshmen.
Yeah, true.
So it's not like the old kind of Kentucky teams. Like, yeah, they're super talented.
What's their? Yeah, they're top 12 in adjusted offense, top 4 in adjusted defense. That's a surprise. I thought their defense wasn't very good, but maybe I'm wrong. Again, we're learning with you guys as we go. Who'd they lose to? They lost to Purdue, lost to Stanford, Washington State, Oregon State, and probably road games.
Yeah, ShotQuality has Arizona as a top 10 defense.
Huh, interesting. Okay. And they tend to lean closer to looks like the over more so than the under. Slightly at least. Yeah, I think we got to do Arizona. It's going to be tough sledding for Long Beach State. But because Long Beach is banged up. Oh, I think this is the team that had. This is LB's. Yeah. Long Beach State fired their coach. That's right. But they're bad from 3. Oh, they only shoot 30% from 3. That's gonna be tough.
Again, they were firing their coach because you look at their
bad
rankings history as well. It's just like
a bad team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, let's not get in front of that. All right.
Arizona
over Nevada. I think so.
Yeah.
Baylor, New Mexico.
I'm willing to continue to lean in New Mexico.
Yeah, I'm down.
And
Arizona. Yeah. Okay. North Carolina, Michigan State. Is this upset territory? Izzo pulls a fast one. You got.
I like what I saw, and I think North Carolina is vulnerable.
I think so too.
Let's do
Michigan State. Get that number 1 upseed. I love it. St. Mary's,
Charleston. I like St. Mary's. I don't think Charleston can do it twice.
I like St. Mary's winning this side. It feels wrong, which makes me think it's right.
Every year, people are like, St. Mary.
Exactly, dude.
And then they play and they like
But dude, it was
like
the same. Hold on. It was the same thing with Gonzaga. It was the same thing with Virginia and Villanova. Every one of these teams goes through the same arc. It's the hype is there because they know it's a great program. They have the recruits. They have the great coaching. But they don't get over the hump yet, and then they do, and then they like get to the final game. I'm just saying. Maybe it's not this year, but I'm saying.
I don't think it's.
They're ripe. It's right. Creighton, remember, Creighton was always like on the cusp.
Also, like, they're like, dude, we should have a white index.
Too white.
I mean, wouldn't they be like the #1 ranked white team?
Honestly, I haven't seen any game from them, so I have no idea what their players look like. They could be brown, like blue.
Well, there's alpha to be had there, okay?
I guess so. So, all right, let's go to the South bracket.
Our race index.
Oh wait, do we put one in the Final Four? St. Mary's?
Dude, I seriously think this is like a really good idea.
Race index. Arizona or St. Mary's?
Like the spectrum, you show like from like really dark to like really light.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Real quick. No, I'm not. It'd be a fun live stream next year is, if we had the time and energy and wherewithal, is do a live presentation where two sides, let's say it was you and I, we argue each team matchup and choose a side, and our audience votes who won the argument. So they don't vote. They don't vote who they think's going to win. They just vote who won the argument. So like, I'm going for St. Mary's, you go for Arizona. We say, well, this is why. It'd be really interesting.
I like it.
And that's how we do our bracket. All right. We didn't choose UConn, BYU. Are we going UConn? Yeah. BYU's not going to ouch. Like, I don't know. Maybe. Actually,
I want to do Auburn. God,
I hate Auburn. All right, dude, let's do Auburn.
I mean, again, I agree with you in the sense of like, dude, like everyone's gonna have UConn, so either we just bake that in and like, all right, well, we're not gonna lose any alpha there. We're not gonna gain any alpha.
I mean, of all the teams and all the brackets on that side, right?
Like UConn, Houston is they're gonna be the two most popular teams.
I know. I think Houston can lose early. All right, so let's go to Houston's bracket. Houston.
All right. Well, if you want to fade Houston, then I think we can just go roll with. I mean, we got UConn going pretty far, so.
Yeah, but yeah. All right, Houston over Longwood, Nebraska, Texas A&M.
A&M.
Yeah. Wisconsin, James Madison.
SEC. Huh? SEC.
SEC. Yeah, I mean, pretty strong conference, I think. James Madison.
Yeah, plus Houston's like banged up, like Dan says. So.
Wisconsin won the Big Ten letdown game. I mean, we see this. This is such a. It's anecdotal, but
yeah, a lot of people who like James Madison. Trendy.
But it's trendy because it's right.
I feel like Wisconsin doesn't lose those first games. Like they're usually like.
Yeah, but they just won the Big Ten. Like. Coming off a high,
like fading teams,
but also, real quick, one thing to consider throughout the tournaments each season is like there's tiers of like typically, in my experience, where certain conferences are better than others. Clearly, yes. Some expected, some unexpected. Where do we put the Big Ten? I know you don't know enough about any of the teams yet, but I think Big Ten's a little
like what Dan says here. I actually like buying this theme. Wisconsin didn't play well last month until conference tournament.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah.
You're getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, it can work either way, obviously. Okay. Duke, Vermont. Yeah, I just looked up Vermont.
I don't like Big Ten. Like I like fading Big Ten, but
yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's yeah. Texas Tech, NC State. I like NC State.
I can do to NC State. Again, I don't like ACC, but it's the same theme on the Wisconsin of like the winning, the getting hot, winning the tournament, and a carryover.
Kentucky, Oakland. No, Kentucky. Oh shit. I mean, will they? I don't know. Can't.
I don't like Kentucky this year.
I don't either, and I don't trust them. You're gonna offend Dan.
I don't know if we need to go Oakland, but yeah.
I don't want to offend Dan, so let's go to Kentucky. Florida, Colorado. I think Florida. I mean, how big is the injury?
Wait, is there anything to like about Oakland real fast?
We should look. I mean, we're so.
A $100 better than $1,700. That's the biggest amount I've seen so far.
Wow.
ATS margin 105 points, just like crushed expectations.
Wow.
Oh, I remember seeing this. This is the big mismatch. Oakland is short kings. Kentucky is massive.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. And Kentucky's got speed and athleticism. Yeah, it's just tough to overcome that. Florida, Colorado. I still think Florida's gonna win. Who got hurt again?
The big dude.
Oh, doesn't matter. The guard play for Florida can still carry them to a deep run. I think. They had multiple bigs. Like I don't know, doesn't affect me.
Okay, yeah. Dan said absolutely not Oakland. So, yeah, Florida, no matter what. Marquette.
Western Kentucky.
I could see Western Kentucky.
I think so too. I love me a good Hilltopper. That sounds like an innuendo.
That's like number 8.
Hey, do you like to hilltop? What did you say to me? You gay, bro? It's okay if you are, but hey.
Oh, actually, I do want to quickly share. It's so funny when I was trying to generate like some cool looking images with Midjourney for Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
It was so funny. Like all the photos were like just like
super.
Trust me, this was like the. Did you see it?
No. Wait. Oh, the Hilltopper?
Yeah.
What is he doing? Is that what a hill? What is it? Is he just yelling?
No,
is he like he's on a hill yelling? Is that what that is?
No, it's just like a lot of these images. They're like all these like kind of like I feel like they're like 19. Yeah.
Like the wrong kind of provocative. Wait, did you put parental advisory on that?
Yeah. This is why.
This is AI's biases at work here. Kentucky for Jesus Christ, Dan. Get him out of the way early. That actually tells me he doesn't like Kentucky long term. Use him now.
Ooh, that's true. Reading between the lines. Let's do Western Kentucky. Let's do those Hilltoppers. Let's see those badasses.
Yeah. And then let's get Florida over Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
And then I think fucking NC State beats Kentucky.
That's tough. ACC versus SEC.
And then Florida beats NC State. I think Elite 8 run for Florida this year. I don't care about.
Let's do Florida Kentucky. I think we see Florida Kentucky.
Nah, see your homerism is showing.
I know.
You want to fade Kentucky. Dan wants to fade Kentucky. Use Kentucky in the first round because God, I can't fucking choose him second round. He knows it. He doesn't give a shit if they play Texas Tech or NC State. He's like, I'm not using Kentucky again. He knows it's the only chance to use Kentucky is against Oakland. And even then, I bet Dan's shaking a little bit. It's Kentucky. Like we all know how this movie goes. They really haven't been spectacular since what? Yeah. Andrew Harrison and then Anthony Davis. And remember, Anthony Harris, is that his name? Anthony Harris, the Twins? He'd hit 3 game-winning threes in March Madness to even get to the Final Four. Like, and they still came up short. So.
Oh yeah, and Kevin says that Kolek guy is questionable. So I mean, that's for Marquette. Like that's another reason to.
Yep. Oh, that's right.
Let's do those Hilltoppers.
Yep. Fuck it. Let's roll. All right, Wisconsin, Duke. Fuck it. Maybe if we're gonna go with Wisconsin over James Madison.
Yeah, they're hot. Let's do it. Everyone hates Wisconsin.
You're right.
Hates the Big Ten. Remember, there's always like one bad conference, that team that like actually starts surprising everyone because everyone wants to fade them because.
Well, and remember, Wisconsin was highly touted when they were hot early in the season. Had their dip, had their lull, lost 5 games in a row or whatever. Now they've come back out of it. So hey, and they're a veteran team.
True? Or is that?
Yeah, let's go here and let's look at the
room?
stats. No, here, bring up the stats real quick.
Okay, yeah, they peaked at 12.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They just had a bad run, you know. They got
yeah, fan sentiment is off. Elite defense. Man, look at this too. I mean, talk about uber consistency.
What am I looking at? Sorry,
Wisconsin first half, second half splits.
Oh yeah. They're just they know what they are.
Again, they got decent size. This will play in like to beating Duke.
Yep.
I think Wisconsin. Oh, look at this, and also look. Oh my gosh, look at this. Shot quality, the rolling difference between adjusted point differentials. Wisconsin's actually outperformed their shot quality adjusted scores by 20 points. That's the best number I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Well, and early in the season, they beat Marquette. They beat Michigan. They lost to Arizona. They lost to Tennessee. Lost to Providence. Beat Virginia.
Yeah, see, this is like one of those bugs I was telling you about, like from the neutral games.
Yeah.
See how this candlestick is flipped. Like this candlestick should be up this way, not this way. Because what this candlestick is essentially saying is like, oh, they went down by a lot of points and then came all the way back and won by a lot of points.
They really struggled down the stretch. A lot of close Big Ten games, and they won the tournament. So hey, kudos to them. Can't wait to fade Purdue. God, I hate Purdue.
Oh, dude, Purdue the championship.
No, I'm not worried about Purdue.
All right, let's keep going. Wisconsin. What's next? Houston, Texas A&M. I want to fade Houston, but I feel like that's a good matchup for Houston. So
yeah, no, that's fine. Play the matchup. I think Wisconsin over Houston. I think that's the
let's
one.
do it.
Fuck it. Wisconsin, Florida, classic throwback. Love to see it.
Ooh, yeah, we're going back to 2015.
I think Wisconsin pulls that out though with Florida's inconsistencies. I think Florida's more inconsistent than Wisconsin. I love Florida, but I just don't. Whiskey in the Final Four. All right, this is really fucked up bracket. I like it. All right, Purdue, Grambling. What if Purdue is the first team ever?
No.
Forever, because we know it'll never happen again.
Zach,
we know it'll never happen again.
Remember UVA lost to the 16th seed?
And they won the championship, I know. That was also super fluky. Like Virginia should have lost like 2 of those games.
Yeah, but they were experienced. They could shoot the 3. They were well coached. Like all those types of things.
Yeah.
All lines up with Purdue. Purdue to the Super Bowl.
Different beast.
Just like Dan says.
No, it's not gonna happen. Utah State, TCU. I don't really have a preference here. I think both suck personally, but I think Utah State is what I'd lean.
Sure.
Yeah. Purdue over Utah State. Gonzaga, McNeese State. I like McNeese. I don't know why, but give me McNeese.
I think McNeese is really bad.
Are they? Oh, they're 31-3 on the season.
Strength of schedule 351st.
Yeah, hold on, but that's
They
overrated.
literally have like the easiest schedule in all of Division I basketball.
Yeah, and they dominated it because they're legit. Look, they beat
Wells.
They beat UAB. They beat Michigan. They didn't know Michigan was a shit team before they beat them, but they beat them.
They didn't know.
That's about it.
Yeah, I mean their schedule is like so limited because they literally didn't even play games worthy of like taking a record of.
Like the stat sheet guy is like using a pencil.
But it's like, hey, stat sheet guy, take the night off.
Literally, my dog ate the stat sheet. Sorry, guys. Whoops. Yeah, you might be right. let's not get too cute. All right, let's go with the Zags. Kansas.
Like, can they shoot the three? They shoot the 3-point percentage. 7th. Okay.
Oh, now.
3-point rate, 275. So they're not like shooting a lot of them.
Yeah. And Zags are gonna still a tough team. Like they're still well coached. And Kansas, Sanford. Kansas is a train wreck.
Oh, and they have Will Wade actually.
Who, McNeese?
Yeah, in your little blurb here, you said Will Wade.
Is it correct or is it typo? Who's Will Wade? I don't know who these teams are.
Okay. It says Will Wade took VCU, LSU. McNeese is a classic mid-major not to be underestimated. I know if McNeese wins, you'd like be pulling this out and being like, see, look at it. You should have read the elevator pitch. See, I told you. I mean,
that's why I read it.
I called it.
Oh, that's right. Look at that. I am calling that. Look at that. 17.8 points a game. Yeah, I mean, you got a little point guard that can shoot the three.
All right, just do McNeese.
Fuck it. What am I doing this for? Like, I'm on an ESPN free bracket. We're talking about it like it's meaningful in some way.
No, but I'm going to use this as when I fill in our...
How? By
I'm going to do like 3 of them, I'll use this general sketch.
I see. Kansas, Sanford. Fuck it, Sanford. I hate Kansas.
Damn.
What?
Okay.
And also, one thing I learned too.
South Carolina, SEC, South Carolina.
Creighton over Akron, definitely.
Definitely Creighton.
Texas, Colorado State. I could go either way because I have a case for both. But what do you?
Well, I didn't even know, but like the Campwise guys were telling me that they got that Max Abe miss.
Yeah, he's on Texas.
Yeah, he's so fun to watch. I mean,
you want to root for him. Doesn't mean they're gonna win.
So
I like Colorado State, what they did, but yeah, I like Texas generally. Tennessee, St. Peter's. Nah, I think Tennessee is gonna pull that.
Yeah.
Texas, Tennessee. I can see Texas. Fuck Tennessee. I don't like Tennessee.
Nah, I think Tennessee pulls it out.
Creighton, South Carolina. I like Creighton.
Yep.
I don't trust South Carolina. It's too gimmicky. McNeese, Samford. Doesn't matter. Purdue's going to beat them. Purdue in the championship round versus Creighton or Tennessee. I like Creighton. I don't trust Tennessee.
Do Samford instead of McNeese.
Okay. Tennessee, Creighton. Yeah. Creighton, Purdue.
Creighton.
Yeah. Give me some.
Although I think there is edge to be had picking Purdue because again, like everyone wants to face
Houston. But let's see. All right. Well, their realistic path, they're going to win the first 2 rounds. Then if they play a beat up Kansas, going to beat them. Gonzaga maybe could pull the upset. Maybe. Very unlikely. So they're probably going to get to the Elite 8. Then it's really going to come down to a Creighton, Tennessee.
Yeah. I think Creighton has a tougher path.
Yeah.
Let's do Purdue. I think it's going to be off market.
Yeah. All right. So Purdue, Wisconsin rematch. Interesting.
Ooh.
That's a good game.
This is hilarious. Like everyone's saying that Big Ten like sucks D, and then
it's Purdue in the championship. I think we do Purdue. I think Purdue in the championship. Auburn, St. Mary's. Oh, I think Auburn. Purdue, Auburn. That's a good championship.
That's not a bad championship.
Yeah. This actually, even though this is clearly off market, this actually to me has a lot of like makes sense. Auburn, St. Mary's, Wisconsin, Purdue. I think 3 of 4.
Again, I don't like St. Mary's, but
out of that bracket, who do you like? Arizona? I guess Arizona.
Yes.
All right,
definitely.
Arizona. All right, we switched to Arizona. All right, that feels more. This feels like squarish, but like off-market squarish.
Yeah, and Auburn, I like Arizona, but I could see Auburn.
I actually think more people are going to have Auburn go further than have Arizona.
Okay, Arizona then. Arizona.
All right, Arizona.
And again, I think I just do not think a lot of people are going to have Purdue winning the championship. In fact, Purdue, like the good Purdue is easily one of the best team in the country. And I think we're actually getting an opportunity to pick one of the best teams in the country.
You make a good point. You're going to have a lot more people in Houston and obviously Connecticut.
Yeah.
So if they stub their toe, it's Purdue's to lose.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Again, there's not a lot of. Usually, there's no alpha picking in like one of the best teams, and I think there is this year.
Yeah. So, all right. And how many points?
155.
155?
No.
Oh, that's a shit ton of points. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
The championship, you know they play defense, right? I think 200. NBA style all-star.
151. 151.
Dude, how about 144? So 150 is like high.
Conservative, man.
I mean, like 70 points in a championship game each. I mean, dude, they're tentative. Like, everyone's intense playing defense. Like, high scoring games are rare, unless it's a blowout. All right, we did it. And I gotta go.
Nice.
My wife's texting
Yeah.
me. She's saying, "Get the fuck
Same.
out." Your wife?
Alrighty.
All right.
That was a
time.
good stream. 3 hours. We did it well past midnight.
Now-
March Madness Eve.
Christmas.
Thanks for
March
chiming in,
Madness.
Dan.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks,
your
everybody.
chat. See you guys.
Bye, everybody. Have fun.
That's
Play
closing
fun.
bell. March Madness.